Fairly good, Nick. We're looking forward to a pretty intense and vital game for both sides today. Both sides have lost one game each through the season and have been putting in particularly good performances throughout the season. Ted Henrys is here with me, so also is Bill Jacobs with Ian. So, Ted, how do you see the game?
Well, Phil, there's no doubt about it. These two top teams, with only the one loss each, as you mentioned, have emerged as the main contenders for this year's flag. They stand head and shoulders above the rest of the competition, in my belief, and both have the best defences on the ground. I always believe, Phil, you win grand finals with good defence, not by how many goals you kick, and I think these two will go on through the season. Today will be the last time they'll meet before the finals come along, and I think today will have a bearing on the finals, even though that may be far ahead, because each will be watching the performance of their opposition very closely here today. Sandringham, I think, have a little problem in the fact that Rex Hunt, their full forward, is their main goal kicker. He's the main avenue of their goals that they have scored this year, and if he can be kept out of the game, well, I think it's curtains for Sandringham. But no one's been able to do that yet, Phil, and I don't think Port Melbourne have a player on their side who is capable of holding Rex Hunt. On the other end of the ground, we find Fred Cook, who's down on his form at the moment, and full forwards have played a vital part in premiership wins. Now, Fred will have to sort of pick up his form. He's kicked something like 7 goals in the last 3 matches, and that's not like Fred Cook from past years.
Hasn't he?
He has been rucking, but last week we saw him against Preston. He was in trouble getting goals up there, and he stayed at full forward most of the day. But taking into account everything, Phil, you're looking at both sides, the balance of both sides, I think home ground advantage is going to be the telling factor here today, and that's why I'm going for Sandringham.
Well, they're expecting record crowds here today, and they're building up quite well here at the present time. You mentioned the finals, Ted. Well, this is a different ground from the Junction Oval. It's a smaller ground, and Sandringham handle this very, very well. It's when they get out in those wide open spaces they seem to get problems. Anyway, Bill, what do you think about today's game?
Well, first and foremost, good afternoon, Phil, and ladies and gentlemen. I think Port Melbourne will win the game. The nearest yardstick on which I can draw for comparisons is the game that Port played against Preston last week and the game that Sandringham played against Preston a few weeks ago. And I think that of the two, Port Melbourne impressed more than did Sandringham on that day. I'll concede that there is a home ground advantage here for Sandringham, but I think that Port Melbourne have more match winners in their team than the home team, and I refer to players like O'Reilly. I think Billy Swan will be sorely tested in the centre, but I think he can win there. Peter Hall has got the biggest job of the day in attempting to hold down the leading goal kicker in the association. But over the field, I think Port have got a little bit more pace, and I think they have more match winners. I'd be surprised if they don't win in the ruck with Big Vic Anderson. And on that basis, I'm quite categorically saying that Port Melbourne will win.
Yeah, well, I don't agree with you there, Bill, because I think Sandringham have the best goal-to-goal line.
Thanks very much, Phil. Good afternoon to you and the rest of our commentators and, of course, our viewers at home. There's no doubt it's going to be a great game today. As we've already mentioned, there is a big queue at the gate trying to get in. So it's being built up as a grand final. Peter Hogan, is that the way you're treating it?
No, it's not.
Thought you'd say that.
No, how can it be a grand final? It's a grand final.
A preview to the grand final.
Not even a preview.
So Sandringham aren't going to play in the grand final?
We're going to play in the grand final, but there's 2 seasons. It's a 4-game season at the end of the home and home games, and this is probably a grand final with the 4 points at stake, put it that way.
Right. Well, now, just looking at your side, I've been handed some interesting statistics by Ted Henrys on Rex Hunt. Now, Rex has kicked 52 of 161 goals this season. That works out to 32%. Now, he is a very important player to your side, isn't he?
Very, very important player, that's right. Yeah.
Could it be termed a weakness?
I don't believe so.
Because you rely on him so much?
I don't believe so. The only reason why Rex has probably kicked so many goals is because the players that around him still haven't read the play, you know, off the pack and off the punch away. You know, we're not getting the goals we should be getting with Rex's experience. For instance, when the ball hits the ground today, you'll notice our players are still trying to read what's happening. With me?
Right, I am.
A punch away, we're not recovering.
Is that your fault?
Well, it might be my fault. Could be, but I tend to think.
Fired,
no, that's not at all. I think it comes back to the players reading the play correctly, and frankly, the way we play and leave Rex one out in the goal square most of the time, that reflects on it, I think. And plus the fact I think the players themselves are still getting used to. You know, every week a different type of opponent does a different type of job on Rex, but fundamentally, when the ball hits the ground, we're not getting those goals that are vital to us.
Righto, Peter. Well, we've got today Sims against Annanson. This is a very important clash.
It is a very important clash, yes. But there's also Brian Adams that will be against Anderson at odd times, because Brian's 6'4" and he's centred around the forward line most of the time. And when the ball's down there, he'll be going against Vic.
Right. Well, now one man you've got to watch today is Fred Cook.
Well, he hasn't been kicking goals, but that doesn't mean to say he's not going to kick them today. It's up to the players on the back line. Well, I believe most of Fred Cook's goals comes from the play up the field. And if we can put the pressure on around the centre of the ground along our half-back line, and not to allow the easy kicks to be placed on the chest of Cook, we're going to be in business. But if the ball's coming down in an easy fashion to Cook, we're going to be in trouble. He's going to kick goals.
David Pledger, one of your star players, back after suspension. You did tell me during the week on Eyewitness News that you promised him a place in the side.
Well, yes, of course. He's a valuable player.
One of the umpires today is Brian Oakley. The club has claimed in the past that Pledger's been victimised. Are you happy with Brian Oakley as
very much so. Brian Oakley's a very, very good umpire. So, frankly, he umpired out at Preston and was an excellent. He umpired excellently that day.
Right. Well, now I understand there's a $1,000 fine for any comments on umpires. You're going to cost the club $1,000?
Oh, I never comment on umpires. They're out there to do their job. That's fair enough. It's up to Phil Gibbs and other people to commentate on umpires, you know. He seems to make so many mistakes about everything else.
You do have a knack of being controversial, Peter. You're a great copy. You realise that, do you?
No. Phil likes to make comments about different odds and ends, and I can make comments about him. You know, it's good.
On a serious note, your sponsor this year must be very happy, because I think this is a record number of wins you've had so far.
Newbrick, yes. Oh, they're happy about the amount of times that we've been on TV. It's great. It's great for the club.
The fact that you are created a record in the club with the number of wins, is that correct?
That's right. Yes, eight in a row. That's the first time ever it's been in history, apparently. So it's pleasing. So long as we can get 9 in a row today, we'll be happy.
Well, Peter, congratulations to you. I know you don't want congratulations at this stage of the year, but the fact that you have won that many wins in a row, and of course today to be able to knock off last year's premiers, would be the one that you're really looking for.
Yes, well, last game we played at Port, 4-goal difference between the sides. I believe there's a 4-goal difference with home ground, so therefore we became a draw, in my opinion, up at Port. So if we beat them by 4 goals, it'll be another draw today.
Don't confuse me with science. Oh, by the way, any changes? Is Gilmore going to play in 16 or 24? That's what we want to know.
Where is he? He's there before. No, I think Gilmore's playing in 16 today, just to save all the problems.
So there'll be no confusion?
No confusion, I hope not, anyway.
16 or 24? Normally 24. Don't you know?
Normally 24, is it?
That's right.
Oh, well, look, I'll talk to him later. It'll be probably 24 if it's in the book.
You will let Phil know. He'll get very upset if you don't.
Oh, he can be confused if he likes. Up to him.
Righto. Okay, Peter, thanks very much. Well, as you can see, there's plenty of activity in the Sandringham rooms, especially with the coach, Peter Hogan, who's just moved across and already is getting stuck right into his players in the pre-match build-up. We'll be back shortly with the latest from the Port Melbourne rooms.
Well, I don't know about getting confused. Peter Hogan always seems confused to me. It's a wonder he knows the names of his players. He certainly doesn't know the numbers of them. Anyway, we'll be back here after this break. Well, there we have with Gary Bryce.
The atmosphere in the Port Melbourne rooms, Phil, is one of, well, it's enthusiastic to say the least, as we would expect from Port, very professional side, and I guess Gary Bryce would expect that too. Well, Gary, welcome back to the action.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, it is. It's good. It is good to be back. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Are you fit? 100% fit?
Well, every player that goes out's 100% fit. That's right.
Yeah, you said that with a hesitant. Were you thinking about the question or what?
No, well, players, you know, at times they do carry injuries, but when you go out there, you can't be thinking of that. You think about playing the game and putting in 100% effort, regardless of what's the matter with you.
It's getting very close to the big game now, so we won't waste around. Let's get down to tin tacks. Freddie Cook hasn't been performing this year. You must be concerned about Freddie's form.
Well, I was quite happy with his form last week. I thought that he suffered a few, I thought a few decisions went against him that should have been his way, and if he'd kicked another couple of goals, it would have been a good effort from him. I thought his form last week was fairly good. He got in front, he did the things we wanted him to do, and he was just unfortunate the couple of times he should have been given free kicks and wasn't.
Since last week's game, there's been a lot of controversial statements, which I guess is all good promotion for this game. Now it's down to the fair dinkum business of winning it. It really is, or it could be, a preview to the grand final. Are you treating it that way?
Certainly are, yes. You know, they're second, we're first, and we want to stay on top. They obviously want to take our position, so it is. very much so.
How concerned are you about fellas like Hunt? I mean, Hall will have a hell of a job on him today, won't he?
Well, he did the job down at Port Melbourne. There's no real reason why he can't do the job again. I mean, Rex has played a couple of great games, but he's put in a few ordinary performances himself in the last few weeks. So he's not the only one we're worried about. We're worried about their whole side.
Anyone in particular? Pledger maybe coming back?
Not particularly. I think it's the team really is the essence of the game. It's not individuals, because we have as many brilliant individuals in our side as they do, and it just depends which side can take the advantage first up will win the game. You
must be pleased with the enthusiasm in the rooms at the moment, Gary.
Well, I'd expect it to be that way. We've had quite a bit to do during the week to have a talk about the game and the importance that it is for us.
I see Vic Annanson just over there with his leg up on the table. Vic completely fit. Is he doing his exercises at the moment, if we can get a shot of Vic?
He is. He's 100% fit. There's no doubt about that. He's been training very well for this game. Probably the best he's trained this year.
There is a lot of pressure on Vic, isn't there, today?
Well, there's a pressure on all of us, really, and every one on the side. There's a question mark against us as far as pressure games and can we keep performing. And then we fell down against Coburg. Probably the players may have taken that one a bit easy, but they haven't since. And last week was a pressure game. We came through it fairly well.
Righto, Gary. We're going to leave it at there. Leave it at that, because I know you've got a lot of preparation to do before the game. Thanks for those few words, and we might even see you after the game.
I hope so, Rob. Yeah, thank you.
Righto, Gary Bryce, captain and coach of Port Melbourne, making a comeback today after injury. Gary Bryce. Well, that's the very latest from the Port Melbourne rooms, and very shortly we'll have the bounce of the ball.
Right ahead. On Thursday night, rather.
No, they do select on a Thursday night, Phil, and probably have a run on a Saturday and confirm the side, particularly where they've got any doubts. But that centre half forward is obviously ASTBURY and not Betts, as we have there. So that's ASTBURY, BEUS, lining up at centre half forward. But as Phil mentioned before, I also believe that Buse will line up at full back. But yet to be to wait and see. I've been informed by the Sandringham camp, Phil, that is the team. That is how they will line up. And to the knowledge of Brian Douglas, the secretary, there has been no number changes.
Righto, and let's check off the Port Melbourne side.
Yes, looking at the Port Melbourne side, we see the inclusion this week of their captain and coach, Gary Bryce, on the half-forward flank. But don't be surprised, Phil, if he lines up on the interchange bench. And Glenn Evans, who normally plays in that position that Bryce has today, I think Evans probably could line up on the half-forward flank. But there we find, you mentioned the Sandringham goal-to-goal line. Well, there's nothing wrong with that one. When you look at those players, Peter Hall-Dermott, Bill Swan, great game last week, also O'Reilly, and Fred Cook, who must strike it soon, Phil.
They always keep Evans in a funny position, because it's always Evans who's the player dragged off on interchange, I've noticed over the last
Well, it's the graveyard of any football team as a half-forward flank, Phil. It has ever since I can remember, and usually you find the player that suffers the axe is probably the player that's been on the half-forward flank, one of the most difficult positions to play. But anyway, that's how they should line up today, Phil.
Right, there are other interesting games being played in first. Well, Port Melbourne moved out onto the ground before the umpires have made their appearance, very anxious to get out there, have a feel of this ground. And here are the umpires coming out for today, the A&A umpires. The field umpires are Brian Oakley, 9 years with the VFA, and a very happy dad with his wife Cheryl, giving birth to a daughter last Wednesday, and Bill Tawney, who's been 15 years with the VFA. The boundary umpires, Mike Stewart, 10 years, and Robert Sevens, 5. The goal umpires, Ernie Weston, 8 years, and Bob Hogan, 2. And the emergency umpire is Gary Huxtable, 15 years with the VFA, with the umpires board representative being Noel Nobby O'Brien. So they move to the centre. We have Port Melbourne doing their preliminary circuit of the ground. Right, and they're running out on black and yellow carpet by the look of it here, the Sandringham side, and led onto the ground by Terry Wilkins, the centre man and the captain of the Sandringham team. All keyed up, and I notice one fellow there is Sims. A lot will depend on this player. He takes the big mark around the ground, and a very, very good player for the Sandringham side. Anyway, as they do their preliminary circuit of the ground with all those mascots following them, we'll take this break. Port Melbourne trainers side out on the ground, and Peter Hogan just coming off the ground here after walking out with his side. There he is. He looked up at me and gave me the V for victory sign. Well, I think it was anyway. As he settles back in his coach's box, and getting the rub there is John Christo of Port Melbourne. And we have Kevin Sims walking around the outside. Rex Hunt, I haven't sighted him as yet. The Zane Gray they call him, of VFA football, the big fisherman. And he's the one that will cause a lot of damage. He looks fit enough, Bill, doesn't he?
Generally sounds it.
Comments then from Bill Jacobs of 3AW. Well, he's sounding off a bit there too, I think, as he was coming down with the team. Yes, there he is. Telling a young fellow how to play it. That was Mailing. Terry Wilkins, of course, very tattooed gentleman. Played football in Darwin a couple of seasons ago. And there's Fred Cook. A lot will depend on him. Got a smack in the across the nose last week at Preston very early in the game, and seemed to quieten him down a bit for the game. But both sides very keen, and Vic Annanson, the big fellow there.
I just wonder whether Gary Bryce is going to take part in this game from the outset. He's wearing his tracksuit top. There's nothing unusual about that, and I wouldn't be surprised if he took up a position on the bench.
Yeah, well, I, Bill, and looking at Glenn Evans, he's got no tracksuit top on,
right.
And Wilkins, Sandringham has won the toss. And Sandringham will kick to the southern or right of our screen, which no wind favouring either end today. Quite a still day, but first blood to Sandringham by winning the toss.
Yes, there's just the slightest of breezes, very, very slight.
No advantage though, Bill?
Oh, no, I wouldn't think so.
Oh, no, it's very still at the moment, and even money is the betting. If you folks want to know up here.
Well, that's what it should be, Phil.
Well, that's what I just took. Right. Now, Bill, we're just watching them move into their positions.
Gary Bryce is going to stay on the bench, I'm sure now.
Yeah, it looks as though Bryce is walking off the ground.
Evans is on.
Evans is on. So Bryce will come on as an interchange, but that's obviously signalling to the opposition that he's still injured, Bill.
Well, one would think so, yes,
yeah.
Slightly.
Unless he feels he might be able to see out the game.
Put it this way, rather than say that he's injured, that he hasn't completely recovered from the injury.
Yeah. Well, now a big crowd here at Sandringham. And we have the field umpire, Bill Tawney. He'll be the one to bounce the ball. And we're about to get underway on time in the big First Division game.
Big crowd, Phil, but still plenty of vantage points for anyone who wants to come here.
Yes, if anybody's worried about the place being packed out, you can still see the game quite comfortably down here at Sandringham, although it is a huge crowd, but you can see there that there is room to see. Sandringham won the reserves match fairly easily too, Ted, didn't they?
Yes, Sandringham 18-11, 119 defeated Port Melbourne 9-19, 73, Phil.
Right, now just checking with the captains. He's checked with Terry Wilkins, checked over here. And now the signal to the timekeepers, and Bill Tawney comes in for the bounce of the ball in the VFA match of the day. And there it goes. Annanson moves in. Sims went in, but Annanson got the knockout from the ruck, tapped it on again. Wilkins tried to get it away. The umpire says holding the ball, and the free kick will be taken by Kavanagh, but he goes for the hand pass to Swan. Swan sends it up towards the half-forward line. Racing in after it is Grant O'Reilly. Taps it and puts it over the line, with right behind him David Droscher of Sandringham.
And Alf Pierce is lined up at full-back on Fred Cook, Phil.
Thought he may. Well, he's the experienced full-back of the team. And there's Sims reaching up over the top to get the knockout. Pledger moving away with it, sends it back towards the centre. And Swan it is, getting the better of Wilkins, then judging the flight of the ball, takes the mark, sees Wilkinson out on the half-forward line, and Wilkinson comes in now, plays it across field, sees players in good position, and that was Christo who came in to take the mark, Jim Christo. And Port Melbourne looking good in the very early seconds of the game, moving the ball around well, because Wilkinson then made good position, left completely unattended, to take the mark. He's within scoring range, although they took the ball from there two kicks ago, took it from there over towards the centre and then back to the same position. And there goes the kick on its way up towards Cook. Cook got his hands to the ball, failed to take the mark. Moving in here is Anderson. He can't get away with it. Evans came in as well and forced it over the line and out of bounds for Port Melbourne. It's been 7 possessions to 1 so far in Port Melbourne's favour. Sims goes up with O'Reilly. Neither one of them get the advantage with the knockout, but the umpire indicating that there is a free kick there, which will be taken by O'Reilly of Port Melbourne. So O'Reilly, Port Melbourne expected to be on top early, as they were last week against Preston, and then had difficulties in the final quarter. Sandringham have always had the ability, this year anyway, to be able to come home late in the game. Well, now there he puts it on its way. It's not a bad kick either. The goal post was moved, but it's gone through for full points and first blood to the Boroughs. Port Melbourne 1 goal, and Sandringham have yet to score. Now let's go through these selections again for the match today. Bill, you've selected
Port Melbourne.
Ted?
Sandringham.
I've gone for Sandringham.
I've gone for Sandringham.
And Ian?
Sandringham.
And I've gone for Sandringham. So it's 4-1. Certainly not the odds on offer, though. And there we go with the ruckman waiting for it. Anderson gets a big knockout to the little fellow in Ebeyer. Ebeyer up towards Cook. Cook has the run of the ball. Can he get around to it? Was about to kick it off the ground. He's grabbed very high, but snaps at goal, and he's put it through for the minor score of 1 behind. So that takes Port Melbourne on to 1-1. Sandringham have yet to score, and Sandringham finding difficulty in settling down up to the 3-minute mark. They've had 1 possession. There's their second, as Chapman came in to take the mark. With that right hand heavily bandaged, goes off the side of the boot. 2 Sandy players go up, push in the back. No, holding the ball, says the umpire. I thought the ball was well clear of him. But anyway, Mannix has the free. Mannix now gets the kick up towards the half-forward line, punched away, comes through here towards John Christo, who couldn't break away. Kavanagh scoops it off the ground, and that's Swan getting the hand pass into Wilkins. Wilkins now from the wing. Wilkinson up towards the half-forward line, and will pay the Sandringham mark to Scott. Scott now from the half-back line. Looks for the lead across near the centre of the ground. Wilkins is in there, but couldn't get to the ball. Coming up as John Christo overruns it, and picking it up, or trying to, is Bradbury. Couldn't handle the ball at all, around the neck, and it's a free kick to Gilmore of Sandringham. Gilmore going for the short pass, and he gets it to his teammate and O'Brien. O'Brien lines him up. There's Hunt going up fast to take the mark. Grabs the ball and then bang, straight through for full points to Sandringham. So... Righto, there we have the scores, only 1 point the difference, and it promises to be a very exciting game here at Sandringham today. As the ruckman move in, Sims gets the knockout from that position, scooped away then from O'Brien, goes further downfield. Saru picks it up, he's put it high in the air, and this could be Sandringham's. There are 3 players there, bit of indecision, but it's tapped through, and Adams is the player to gain possession, a bit late in shooting it across. He's brought down to the ground, and the free kick will be given further afield, and Mailing is the player to take the free. Now let's look down at Hunt. We have Dermott limping very badly as he comes downfield here with the trainers out to him. There he is, Dermott in the picture is now. We have Mailing lining them up. He's a long way out from goal, puts the ball on its way. He'll get the distance, but not the direction, and it is out on the full. Hall is the player to take the kick as we take you over to Bill Jacobs.
Ball from the back pocket up to the half-back line. Demetrio thumped away. Chance for Sims, wheeling onto left foot in towards the centre of the ground. Wilkins at the centre. Good tackle by Swan, out to Saru. Saru alone, unattended, from the half-forward flank up to the forward pocket area. And Bradbury leading in the race for the ball, very close to the line. And holding the ball as a call against Bradbury. Sandringham have accelerated in pace a little bit since the opening. Olympic Tyre scoreboard, 1-1 to a goal. Port Melbourne leading. In towards centre half forward, and the umpire will bounce. 6.5 minutes into the first term of this, what has been termed a grand final preview. And it's a point the difference favouring Port Melbourne. At the knockout, Anderson up to centre half forward. Wilkinson might have been holding the ball, and Swan in the middle of the pack and gets the free kick. A little bit fortunate there, Port, I felt. Swan will deliver the ball out to centre wing, and sitting back Evans quickly onto Ebeyer. Speed into Port Melbourne's forward line. Cook coming from there, knocked away. Cook in again, unable to take the ball away, and the pack forms. Umpire has seen a trip, and the free kick O'Reilly's way. Port Melbourne 1-1. O'Reilly kicked that goal for Port Melbourne from the right forward pocket earlier in the game. It's at the 7-minute mark now, and Port Melbourne lead by the solitary point. Port Melbourne. Very toey about this big game, Port. Very toey in the rooms at the start, or before the start. O'Reilly blowing them up. That's another goal. Port 2-1, Sandringham a goal. Port Melbourne 2-1. Wilkins out the centre, intercepted by Evans, twisting and turning anywhere. Out to Anderson, the elusive Anderson, knocked away by Saru. Coming through strongly there was Thompson with plenty of vigour, and he'll get the free kick. But near enough to the centre of the ground. There were no holes barred that time with Thompson. Lead up here. Cook coming from behind into the middle of the pack, thumped away. Wilkinson off the boot very quickly. O'Reilly dropped the easiest of marks. I think he got a free kick. He had to get the free kick the way he was rushed then up on the back line. And O'Reilly already having kicked 2 goals. Port Melbourne's tally is 2-1 to a goal at the 8.5-minute mark in what has turned out to be a pretty healthy Skolker first quarter thus far.
Yes, and Grant O'Reilly, no doubt the dominant player on Port Melbourne's forward line in these early minutes, Bill.
He certainly shouldn't have dropped that mark. He could have made life a lot easier for himself if he'd have taken it and walked into goal, but he's made it hard now, and he's on the most acute angle, as you can see. Tries the left foot, and there's no problem about that for 1 point. So Port Melbourne at 2-2, and Sandringham 1 goal on the Olympic Tyres scoreboard, and we're creeping up to the 9-minute mark in the first term of the big game here at Sandringham, and a good opening, Teddy.
Well, it certainly is a good opening, Bill. There's plenty of good football out there, and it's a very keenly contested game. As I mentioned before, O'Reilly dominating on that Port forward line, that centre half forward, and a great duel going on, a real battle between Fred Cook and Alf Buse.
Well, it's Buse coming up to the line now to put the ball back into play, and he does it well, 50 metres upfield. In there was Anderson, knocked it down, chance to come out. It does to Wilkinson, then to Jim Christo. Was good handball, but Christo's kick is not good, dropped short, and it's Saru standing at centre half back, or a little perhaps on the defensive side of that position. This time it's O'Reilly. Great mark, this boy, but not such a good kick. Saru coming through strongly will repel the attack. Up towards the centre wing position, too far for Sims, but Adams is there. Here's the call from O'Brien, and O'Brien will have to make pace. The hand pass was ineffective, but O'Brien will go in again to get it to Adams at centre half forward, and now it's 2 out. Hunt, and Hunt wins it. No good, Peter Hall. You're not going to beat him with playing from the side. It's got to be in front. And there's the coach, Gary Bryson. He knows what the problem is. It's going to be very hard to keep down, that's for sure. And Peter Hall's got the toughest job on the ground, I would think. And Hunt has kicked the only goal for Sandringham. And he's now kicked the second. Sandringham 2 goals, Port 2-2.
All the earmarks of game here at the Beach Road Oval. The difference at the moment is 2 points on the Olympic Tyre scoreboard. Sandringham 2 goals, 12. And of course they're trailing Port Melbourne 2-14. Ideal football conditions today, overcast, and with the exception of the very centre, a firm ground. Umpire Brian Oakley moves in as Sims is having a great battle there with Anderson, and the umpire has found a free kick going to Sims. Sims, big high kick down towards the centre half forward position. Adams gets the front spot, but it's thumped away by Dermott. Now it's Chapman moving in, trying to get possession of the ball. Does so now. Not a good hand pass, but play on, says the umpire, as Christo takes it. Jim Christo couldn't do much with the ball at all. Now it gives Scott the opportunity for Sandringham. Goes one way, then the other. Handballs crossed away. Way gets rid of the ball very, very quickly. Grabbed by Bradbury of Port Melbourne. Kicked high down to the half-forward flank position, and O'Reilly's up there. He can't take it on this occasion. Down on his knees now, and desperate football as the umpire calls for the ball on the half-forward flank position. Port Melbourne kicking to the city or northern end of the ground. On the beach or the bay side at the moment. There's the knock by O'Reilly going forward for Port Melbourne. Kavanagh grabs the ball. He's in the forward pocket position. He'll line up the big sticks and puts it right through the middle for a goal to Port Melbourne. Gary Bryce, elated at this stage, certainly playing today, but on the bench, coming back after injury. Let's have a look exactly how it was done. You'll see Kavanagh coming in now, Ted, taking the ball.
Yes, and that's Kavanagh there now, a good player too, a good substitute for Paulie, and made no mistake about it at all.
Very loose defence there by Sandringham, Ted.
Well, it's unusual because Sandringham, like Port Melbourne, has a very tight defence usually, Rob.
Port Melbourne 3 goals, 2-20. Sandringham 2 straight goals, 12 points. Now it's Sandringham going forward through Chapman. There's his kick going out to the half-forward flank position. And the mark has been paid there to Christo. John Christo it is. Hard to understand that one, but there's the kick now, coming back towards the centre of the ground. Getting up high is Wilkinson for Port Melbourne. He'll handball to his teammate Evans going past. A short pass by Evans down towards O'Reilly, but Marling's up there in front of him. Now grabbing the ball again is Kavanagh, who kicked the last goal for Port Melbourne. Screws it back towards the full forward position. Can Cook get the ball? Not on this occasion. Knocked down to the ground. Way has the front berth there. Handballs across. Now it's Buse going forward. Buse will take a handball too. Gives it to Mark Saru. A big kick by Saru. Out to the half-forward flank position. And Sandringham are going forward, but it's the defence of Port Melbourne now through Annanson, who'll kick the ball out of the danger zone to the forward flank position. Wyatt is getting the front position, goes one way then the other, just gets out of it across to O'Brien. O'Brien now under a lot of pressure, poor kick and over the line and out of bounds. 20 points, plays 12. Port Melbourne leading by 8 points. A very exciting game at the 15-minute mark of the first quarter. And a big crowd here too, but as we said before, there's still plenty of vantage points if you're thinking of coming. Back to the action now. And it's Mannix who couldn't do anything with the ball, gets it across to Swan, the opposition. And now it's Sims going forward, but he loses the ball. Evans it is, right down towards the full forward position. It's going goalward, but offline and through for one behind. Takes it on to Port Melbourne 3 goals, 3-21. Sandringham 2 straight goals, 12 points. There's the interchange, and coming on is Hayes, Jeff Hayes for Sandringham. Back to the action again, down to the full forward position. Cook in front, can he take it? No, he has it sharped away by Fletcher. In fact, he's got so much time he'll take a bounce. Now he has a kick, and it's O'Reilly who comes in, sharking the ball in front of Sims. O'Reilly playing a great game. That's his 6th kick, according to Ian Gibbs, our statistician. There's the kick down to the scoring zone. Fred Cook having a great battle there, and a good mark to Fred Cook. Fred Cook out positioning and out thought. Good tactics there against Alf Buse. Buse on the mark. Freddie Cook, a picture of concentration. There's the mark again. Oh, beautiful tactics, Fred Cook. There's the kick by Cook. Umpire says 4 points to Port Melbourne.
In the first quarter, Wilkins hasn't had a kick in the centre for Sandringham. As I mentioned, he gets his first. Up towards the half-forward line. It comes through towards Mailing. Mailing having a lot of difficulty in handling it, but eventually gets the kick in towards that centre-forward zone. There's Hunt coming in. Taps it back towards his teammate and Adams, who couldn't get away with the ball. Comes out to Swan again, who'll come in for his 5th kick. Puts it to Abaya, and Abaya has taken the mark on the half-back line. And there's Hall in a bit of trouble in the trainer's hands. It goes wide at the centre. Sims came in, tried to take the mark, couldn't do so. It's the Port Melbourne players going in hard. Saru caught holding the ball. And the free kick to be taken here by O'Brien of Sandringham with a 15-metre penalty being applied. It's Christo. John Christo of Port Melbourne. All right, there it goes towards that centre-forward zone, and again Cook out-manoeuvring his opponent, using a lot of strength, which is typical of the Fred Cook play, has taken the mark only 10 metres out from goal. Port Melbourne starting to get right on top. Cook right in front, kicking towards the northern end of the ground. And he's put it through for another one to Port Melbourne, taking them on to 5 goals, 3 as against Sandringham's 2 goals straight. Well, Port Melbourne playing really well at the moment, Ted.
Well, they're playing very well. They've got more versatile players in their side than Sandringham have at the moment. Sandringham are getting the ball down on their forward line, Phil, but they're not able to do much with it. The strong defence of Port Melbourne clearing many times, and Sandringham still has no answer to Grant O'Reilly across that half-forward line. And also Fred Cook, it looks as if he's back to his best, Phil.
Yes, I'm watching these two ruckmen. They chase one another around the circle as the umpire comes in for the bounce, and Anderson getting the knockout and gets it out beautifully to be taken away by Swan. Swan up towards the half-forward line, and the bounce is pushed over the line by Brusher. And it's on the half-forward line for Port Melbourne. And it's 42 possessions to Port Melbourne to 33 for Sandringham. Hayes is the player of Sandringham now from the half-back line. Looks for the lead near the centre, but Wilkins has been beaten in the centre. And the umpire calling O'Reilly back, smacking them out from both of them. And there goes the kick on its way. A little bit of frustration coming into Sandringham's game. Way is the player to pass it out here, straight to his teammate Adams. Adams to Mailing. Mailing lines them up, puts the ball on its way, and one needed by Sandringham to take them on to 3 goals. Scores Port Melbourne on top in the first quarter. And it's Anderson getting the knockout from the ruck again, but it comes through here to Hayes. Hayes up towards the full forward post, but moving in is John Christo. He'll turn, play it back through the players towards the wing on the bay side of the ground. And Bradbury's the player who has possession, gets it out towards his teammate and Thompson, who couldn't get away. The umpire has given the free to Swan, and we saw the gesture from Swan across to the Sandringham box as we have progress scores coming through, and Geelong West 1 point up there in their game. There's the hand pass coming out towards Hayes again. Hayes now playing it up towards the half-forward line. It's all Port Melbourne players. There's 4 of them there to 1 Sandringham player, and Swan knocking up, getting kicks as he puts it into the hands of Peter Bell of Sandringham. So Bell from the half-back line up towards the half-forward line with Evans, or is it Dermott, in the hands of the trainers. Then coming towards Christo. Christo couldn't quite get rid of the ball. This player will be sandwiched in a minute, Kavanagh, if he doesn't get rid of it. Gets the hand pass in. Hayes comes over it here. Can't get it away. Now to the boundary line. In the back, says the umpire. And the free will be taken by Terry Wilkins. Looks like his second kick coming up as he plays it towards the half-forward line, but it's all Port Melbourne, Bill.
Wilkins kick up to the half-forward flank, and it was Dermott who was in the hands of the trainer. There's a very excited Gary Bryce too. But Dermott looks all right as he brings the ball up towards the half-back line, off the hands of the pack to Wilkins again. Wilkins will speed away across there to half-forward. There was a chance for Mannix, but intercepted by Anderson, and Anderson will take some catching. Goes up to the centre, then across to Wilkinson, through the centre half-forward spot, looking for Cook. And Cook not quite then. Yes, he has. It's a goal to Cook.
As we were saying before, Bill, that Cook back to his best, and there we saw a perfect example of his reaction there to that ball in mid-air. Kicking it off the ground for his 3rd goal and starting for a great day for him.
And Port are 6-3 to 3 goals on the Olympic Tyre scoreboard, and they're doing it well. That's 9 scoring shots to 3. And there's a big challenge for Freddie Cook today. Somebody's trying to take the crown of the top full forward from him, and Cookie's going to respond to that. It's out of the centre, a chance for Chapman. Blocked there very well by Thompson. Into it again, and Thompson out with the hand passes straight to Adams. Adams from centre half forward is going to put it very close. It's through. So they're coming thick and fast. And at the 23-minute mark, Sandringham through Adams have registered their 4th goal, and Port are on 6-3, and the quality is pretty good. Olympic Tyre scoreboard, Port Melbourne 6-3, 39, and Sandringham 4 goals straight, 24. Not much wrong with this game either, Ted.
It's a beauty, Bill, and 1 goal in every 2 minutes of the game so far. 10 goals in just over 20 minutes of play, so that's good football, and that's what the public likes to see.
And the umpire's pretty alert about everything too. It's back to the centre, of course, and Anderson out towards Swan, but it misfired. It's Mailing who comes in to capture the ball. He's looking for Hunt in front of Hall, and Peter Hall takes the mark. Peter Hall about 10 metres out from his square, the goal square, looking across there and finding Thompson. Thompson took a while to get rid of it, but he found Bradbury. Bradbury long up to Kavanagh. Kavanagh balking beautifully to centre wing. Port driving into attack, and the lead up by Jim Christo is good football at half-forward flank. 24 minutes of the term, and Port surge into attack, and that's got to be a free kick in the back. And it'll be taken by Evans. And Port Melbourne doing everything right as they took the ball around there up to their forward pocket. And the final result, a free kick to Evans. And I wouldn't think the distance would be beyond him. I think he'd be a chance. He's kicked the point. He's right on the boundary line, as you can see there. Port 6-3 to 4 goals, and Evans lining them up. Distance is not beyond him. It's gone just across the face of goal, and it's rushed through for 1 point. I think Fred Cook had a hand in pushing that through too. He was outnumbered, and he decided that a point might have been better than nothing. Saru in the goal base for Sandringham, and delivering the ball out to his team's half-back line. O'Reilly looking for a free kick, and the umpire didn't fall for it. Mannix nearly lost control of it, went to Swan, who's winning in the centre, up towards the forward pocket, bounce back for Jimmy Christo, also for Pledger, but Saru's there, and he's got a lead up here, and it's Sims on his own, on the half-back flank, and he's got all the time in the world at the moment. Good shepherding will give him a chance. It's a poor kick to Adams, and Adams is in trouble in his back. Adams at centre wing, Sandringham going into attack, coming up to the time-on period. He's delivered across towards centre-half forward, and it'll be Swan coming in again, handling the ball surely, up towards centre-half forward to O'Reilly. No mark, play on as the call, and rightly so, and Drosser will take it out of trouble for Sandringham. Swan still dominating the centre. Scoreboard 6-4 to 4 goals, and Swan puts Port into attack looking for O'Reilly, and he doesn't let him down. They've got a problem on their hands here, and now they've got a bigger one because there's a 15-metre penalty against Drosser, and that puts O'Reilly well within scoring range. He's kicked 2-1, and he's Sandringham's biggest headache at the moment, that with Swan in the centre. O'Reilly's got to wait until tempers cool, and don't tell me Port have tumbled for it. Well, Port have just thrown away a golden opportunity to kick a goal by a stupid play by Anderson, and he still wants to argue. So does his opponent, and I don't know that that was entirely fair because it takes two to tango. Anyhow, Drosser taking Sandringham out of trouble to Sims, and they lift a little bit as they surge into attack to centre-half forward. Demetrio, Adams has got it all in front of him. Dermot the tackler, and the free kick. 26 minutes into the term.
Just watching Adams, Bill, that's about 3 times he's hesitated when he's gained possession of the ball in a tight spot. All right, to Rob Asper.
16 points is the margin here. Plenty of exciting encounters, and it's Port Melbourne leading. But Mannix now handballs out to the forward pocket position. There's the kick by Chapman, and the umpire says full points, and another goal to Sandringham, much needed. Scoreboard shows Port Melbourne, Sandringham 30, 10 points the margin, and Peter Hogan having plenty to say there. We've now played 2.5 minutes of time on in the first quarter, and what a game we have.
Was that his pen in his mouth or a thermometer?
There's the bounce by Tawney, and already there's a penalty there, infringing into the restricted zone, and so it's Sims who'll take the kick for Sandringham. A big driving kick by Sims right down to the centre-half forward position, going up his Hunt. He can't take the ball. Coming through is Jim Christo handballs across to Wilkinson. Wilkinson for Port Melbourne. Borks then gives a short pass across to Anderson. He can't take it. Let Sandringham in now. Gilmore across to Wilkins, across to Way. Way takes it. Now he'll line up the big sticks. There's his kick right in towards Petita goal, and the umpire says 4 points. What a thrilling game we have, Ted.
It's a magnificent game of football, as I said earlier. We find our 11th goal is being kicked for the quarter now, and changes being made too by the Sandringham defence, where Mark Saru has gone to full-back. And there we find Way. Very cool then, player coming at him, but very cool in his approach to goal. Full points once more for Sandringham for their 6th.
And so the margin now is just 4 points. One straight kick in the match of the day here on 10. A preview of the grand final, well, quite possibly. Now it's going forward again, Sandringham. Players struggling for the ball. Umpire Brian Oakley says we'll clear it. Port Melbourne 6 goals for 40. Sandringham 6 straight goals, 36. Brian Oakley bouncing the ball just short of the centre-half forward position for Sandringham. Vic Emerson, uncontested there, knocks it across out towards the Beach Road side of the ground. Wilkinson for Sandringham takes it, coming through and trying to get the ball is Scott now. Back to Wilkinson, but he's dragged to the dragged to the ground, and he'll take the kick. The captain of Sandringham, Wilkins, leads everywhere there, and Wilkins just kicks it high, coming now across to the broadcast box side of the ground, going up. It was Adams, actually. I thought for a moment there that Chapman got his fingers to it first, but there's the kick now by Adams right down to the full forward position. Oh, players going up everywhere. Desperate defence there. Demetrio's in there. Now it's a handball out from Wilkinson, and the umpire has found the free kick. Ted, what did you think of that?
Holding the ball, there was no doubt about that one. He was caught clean, and I didn't think it was Hunt's free kick. No, it's not. It's coming back to the player who tackled him, and that was Chapman.
Yes, I think Rex would have liked to have taken it, though.
No doubt.
Let's have a look at it again. Yes, no doubt about it. There's the kick now by Chapman from the penalty, right through, and 4 points for Sandringham, who have hit the front. Well, there's no doubt about it. I was going to say it around about the 15-minute mark, and I thought better of it. Sandringham, Ted, are notoriously slow starters.
Well, they are slow starters. Well, they didn't start that slow today, I didn't think. I think Port Melbourne started the better of the two. That was the difference. Port Melbourne forwards were winning. But now Sandringham come back with a vengeance. I think a little bit of life has come back into their play ever since that incident up on Port Melbourne's forward line when Annanson gave that free kick away and a further 15-metre penalty. And Sandringham has not looked back since that point.
5.5 minutes of time on has been played in the first quarter, and for the first time Sandringham have taken the lead by 2 points. Tawney bounces the ball back in the centre of the ground. It's Wilkins playing the role of a ruckman there, but sharking the ball is Demetrio, loses it. Now it's Hayes who grabs it, but Will Tawney has found a free kick, and it's going to go to Demetrio. He gets a little bit of attention, so a 15-metre penalty will result as well, taking him across the centre of the ground now. Phil Gibbs.
Right, Rob, and Demetrio coming upfield now to get the kick in wide of the centre. It's not a good kick off the side of the boot. It goes out towards Pledger. Pledger couldn't get in there. Moving in is Mannix. Mannix is the player in possession for the Zebras. Plays it around the wing, and there's Sims coming in to take the mark in front of Demetrio. So Sims from Beach Road wing now with the kick towards the half-forward line. And it's Thompson who comes in defence, gets his kick up towards the centre half-forward zone, looking for Grant O'Reilly. O'Reilly couldn't take it. Evans is in there trying to gain possession, but it's kicked by Drosher back in towards the centre. Bradbury is the player in the van now. Bradbury trapping the ball, will get the hand pass into Wilkinson. Wilkinson of Port back to Bradbury. Bradbury from the half-forward line with a left foot kick, and look, it's all Port Melbourne as O'Reilly comes out to take the mark at centre half-forward. Hewood Swan, the best player on the ground. He's kicked 2-1 as we have a look at this again, going across to O'Reilly. Drosser a little bit late in coming in to try and negate that attacking move. Now O'Reilly lining him up with his 8th kick coming up towards the northern end of the ground. Puts it on its way, and it's not accurate, or is it? Yes, it's through for full points to Port Melbourne, and they move to 7-4. 4 points up on Sandringham's 7 goals straight. Good kicking by both sides. When between them they've kicked 14 goals for. And incidentally, the total points competition run by Billy Guyot last week. That's the total score competition. The winner will be announced next week. The person who picks the total score for today's match, and it'll be a pretty high score by the look of it. Swan was held when not in possession, and Swan is the player to get the free kick. And we see Bill Tawney very quick in applying a penalty, but Swan is off. He plays it out towards the pocket. Saru racing towards the ball, fails to take the mark. Wilkinson bears in on it for the Port Melbourne side. Can't break away with it, dribbles out towards Saru, and Saru again with the umpire now holding up play for some reason. He's decided to give a free kick to Albuse. Still a lot of talking going on out there, obviously, and there we have Sims on the wing again, gaining possession up here towards Mailing. He comes in and takes the mark and gets a bang behind the ear to go on with. So Mailing from the left half-forward flank. Have to be a good kick for him to be able to score, but he roosts it right up here to the big fellow Hunt, and it's Hall who outmarks Hunt in that final duel. There goes the short pass, gets it short of centre half-back, and Thompson is the player to take the mark. He was left completely unattended. Thompson, long quarter this one as we come up towards the 34-minute mark. Gets it out to Bradbury. Bradbury on the half-back line, holding up play a bit. Only 4 points the difference in Port's favour. They're on 7-4. Sandringham on 7 goals straight. Umpire giving a free kick. That was in the back to Evans. And he gets the free on the outer wing position, tries to get around opponents, successfully does it, and then sends it towards the right forward pocket, and Fred Cook, leading in the race for the ball, has taken the mark in front of Saru as the siren goes for the end of the first quarter. Cook now getting ready to line them up. He's within scoring range, on an angle, about 2 metres in from the boundary line, puts it high in the air, well off target that one. And there it is, the first quarter over with Port Melbourne 7-4, leading Sandringham 7 goals straight. Comments from Bill Jacobs.
It was a good first quarter. At the 22-minute mark, Port Melbourne were holding a 15-point lead, and the Sandringham defence decided to tough it out. They bit the bullet, and there were a couple of biffs went on up on the forward line for Port Melbourne. They lost poise for a while. Sandringham recovered, piled on goals, and caught Port nearly by, I think they're only about 4 points ahead behind Port Melbourne. Then Port came back in the latter stages of the quarter, and they did well, and they hold an advantage of 4 points. But they don't want to fall for the trap. They've fallen for it once this quarter, and they might fall for it again if some of the hotter heads in the Port Melbourne camp aren't subdued. But it was a great quarter of football. Port deserved their lead. They had the two best players on the ground in O'Reilly and Swan, and if they continue to control those positions, I think they can go in at half-time with a lead.
Well, Bill Jacobs has selected Port Melbourne. Ted Hendries has selected Sandringham, so you'll hear a Sandringham summary.
Well, Phil, Bill said it was a good quarter of football. It's one of the best quarters of football I've seen for a long while. We saw good high marking, we saw play on type of football provided by Port Melbourne, and we saw 14 goals scored, and that's what the public want to see. They love to see the goals scored. I thought that probably Sims and Annanson nullified each other at the centre, but Bill Swan, a brilliant player, a good player last week also, was picking up crumbs around that middle. He was completely beating Terry Wilkins, the Sandringham captain, and he was giving his forwards plenty of opportunities, and he had a winner there at centre half forward, Grant O'Reilly. They're probably their second best player last week, so their two best players last week are firing again today. Well, O'Reilly did the best. He kicked their first 2 goals. Cook has come right back into calculations once again. It looks like the old vintage Fred Cook up there today, the way he's moving around competing against his opponent for marks, and he's kicking fairly truly too. Sandringham, Phil, as I said, during the first quarter, they really came back into the calculations in this game when that bit of an altercation up there with Vic Annanson, and from that point on, Sandringham put on 3 quick goals, and they're back in business again.
Ted, I eulogised before the game started about the goal-to-goal line of Sandringham, and I think they're being beaten in their goal-to-goal line. Cook is playing better at full forward. Peter Hall has picked up his game at full back, and Wilkins is certainly being beaten in the centre. And we have O'Reilly winning at centre half forward, and I think that's where Port Melbourne are on top. I agree with you that the rucks are about even, but it's the goal-to-goal line of Port Melbourne that is lifted and is winning the game for them at the moment. Rob?
Yes, well, Phil, I selected Sandringham, but I must admit, around about the 10-minute mark, I was having second thoughts about it. But Sandringham can thank their accuracy for only being 4 points down at this stage. To my money, Sandringham's defence has just got to tighten up a lot. They've let Port Melbourne in at the crucial stage for some very easy goals, and that's taking nothing away from Fred Cook, who has certainly come back today and shown us that he's still a great player. But Swan in the centre has been right on top, and he's one of the main reasons that Port Melbourne have a very, well, only 4 points, but considering the scoring shots, what's that, 11 shots to 7, and Sandringham 7 goals, Swan has had a lot to do with that.
Right, Ian, statistics on the game.
A good quarter of football. In that quarter, a total of 14 goals were kicked, which works out at 1 goal for every 2.5 minutes. Port Melbourne kick getters, Wilkinson 7 kicks, Swan would be the best man on the ground with 12, O'Reilly 8 kicks and he's kicked 3 goals. Sandringham kick getters, Saru 6, Sims is beating Annanson around the ground with 7 kicks, and Chapman 4. Goal kickers for Port Melbourne, 3 each to O'Reilly and Cook, and 1 to Kavanagh. For Sandringham, 2 each to Hunt, Chapman, and 1 each to Mailing, Adams and Wade. Team statistics, free kicks for that quarter, Sandringham 13, Port Melbourne 13. Port Melbourne stronger in the air with 24 marks, Sandringham 14.
Port Melbourne 7-4, leading Sandringham 7 goals straight. Well, there we have the Sandringham side with the bookie. Sandringham 7 goals and Port Melbourne 7 goals 4, and Port Melbourne, well, they've just received a tongue lashing from Gary Bryce, who's continuing on with that, and I'd say a lot of the talk would be over that incident with Vic Annanson up in the forward line for Port Melbourne, when Sandringham then got on top with about 3 quick goals. And progress scores now, Dandenong 24 leading Brunswick 19. These are quarter time scores coming through. Caulfield 22 trailing Preston 30. Geelong West 20 just trailing Coburg 23.
To the back of Freddie Cook there.
Yes, I'll give him a bit of curry here in the second quarter. 4 points of difference in Port Melbourne's favour. There goes the bounce for the second quarter. Up they go, and Annanson got the knockout, but we have Sims who interfered with Annanson on the run-in, and Annanson will get the free kick. And this is Annanson's second kick, but with a ruckman, of course, it's the work they do with their taps and movement of the ball. And there goes the kick on its way. Up towards the centre half forward position. Up they go. Sims went up, failed to take the mark. Took that a little nonchalantly, I felt. As we see coming through here is Anderson for Port Melbourne. He kicks it to Chris, or gets it to Christo. He kicks it across towards goal. And we see it pushed through there by Vic Saru of Sandringham to record another behind for Port Melbourne, taking them on to 7-5 as against Sandringham 7 goals. Saru playing at fullback. Changed his mind then and has decided to kick towards the bay side of the ground, and across here is Mannix, who goes up, fails to take the mark, and that's led Swan in again. Swan with a hand pass to Wilkinson. Wilkinson grabs the ball right on the boundary line, spears it towards the goals, and Saru just getting there to take the mark in the last line of defence. He goes for the hand pass, gets it out to his teammate here in Pledger. Pledger, we haven't seen that much of him under suspension, and will pay the mark this time to Adams of Sandringham.
What do you mean under suspension? He's back.
Well, he has been under suspension, and that's why we haven't seen him in the games we've done, Tim. All right, that's Scott getting the kick in up towards the centre forward zone. Moving in now is John Christo. Christo gets the hand pass across to his teammate in Thompson. Thompson around the wing on the outer side. Rising high was Bradbury, who failed to take the mark. Moving in is Kavanagh. Kavanagh now couldn't get away, and the boundary umpire indicating that it had just gone over the line. So it's 5 points the difference at the present time in Port's favour. Up go the big fellows. That was Anderson with a big knockout from the ruck, and here's the opportunity for Abaya to move in on the ball. He sends it towards the half-forward zone, and Port Melbourne have every chance here through the agency of Christo, who in turn gets it to Anderson. Anderson here to the dangerous O'Reilly. O'Reilly shoots for goal, and it's another one up to Port Melbourne. They go on to 8 goals, 5. Goals 5 to Port Melbourne. Sandringham 7 goals. Who's kicked those goals?
O'Reilly's kicked 4, Cook's kicked 3, and Kavanagh's kicked 1. So 7 goals between O'Reilly and Cook.
And that's why I said their goal-to-goal line is working a lot better than the Sandringham goal-to-goal line. And that's the big gun of the Sandringham team. Wilkins will have to get into the game. He's then got the hand pass in, but it went to Anderson. Anderson puts it to Sims. Sims now didn't quite know what to do. He puts it high in the air. It's punched away here. A dribble off the ground, and immediately we see taken it away as Dermott. Dermott now to put Port Melbourne into attack up towards Evans, who fails to take the mark. Coming through this time is Anderson. Anderson now with his kick towards centre forward. Saru came out to meet the ball. Having trouble with it is Pledger. There's a hand pass out of the pack here. It goes to Christo, and Christo has put it through for full points. That's Jim Christo.
Capozzi gives head
Righto, back here, and there's Swan with it in the centre of the ground, held the ball, and the free kick will go to Wilkins of Sandringham. And we notice the big fellow Hunt out at centre half forward, and here he comes up to meet the ball. He went up, couldn't mark it. It's come back into the hands of Wilkinson, who couldn't handle it either. Gilmore picks it up, kicks it towards centre forward, and here's Adams with the ball, and he's shot it through for goal to Sandringham. So the change did come off with the big fellow going out to centre half forward, Rex Hunt. And that takes Sandringham on to 8 goals straight, with Port Melbourne 9 goals 5. Let's have a look at this again. There was Demetrio failing to get to the ball, and Adams, the player I criticised a moment ago for not being able to get rid of the ball quickly enough, did it well then. Tap back into the hands of Swan, who was running through. This could be a quick reply by Port Melbourne. Comes up towards Christo. Christo balked nicely, goes down to the ground, balking around opponent, shoots for goal, and what's he done with it? He's put it through for another one to Port Melbourne. So Port Melbourne run on to 10 goals 5. Look at their bench, with Sandringham on 8 goals straight. An interchange going on with Port Melbourne too, as Shane Doyle comes on the ground, number 32 for the Port Melbourne side. Demetrio is the player moving off the ground. So now we wait now on Bill Tawney for the bounce. There's Demetrio moving off. 48 plays 65 on the Olympic Tyres scoreboard. And on the bounce of the ball, we take you over to Bill Jacobs.
Well, Port doing it pretty well at the moment, trying to get it out of the centre through Kavanagh, and the umpire will bounce the ball. It's 5.5 minutes into the term, and Port Melbourne 10-5 lead Sandringham, totally accurate with 8 goals, 65 points to 48, Olympic Tyres scoreboard. 6 minutes into the second term, and I rather sense there's a slight breeze sprung up, just ever so slight. Wilkinson to Annanson, Annanson to Evans, and Porter alight again to a lead in by O'Reilly, and he's done what he's been doing all day. O'Reilly's killing them. This is his 10th kick, and he's dominated the scene at the centre half forward position. There's his angle. Chance to kick his 5th goal. He's kicked 4-1. 10-5 to 8 goals. That's one he'd rather forget. Goal umpire says it's 1 point, and that's 4-2 that he's kicked. And Port go on to 10-6 against Sandringham's 8 goals. Annanson chasing Sims out when Sims led. Annanson in front. Annanson on the half-forward line. Port going into attack again. Hogan issuing plenty of instructions from the bench as Annanson kicks. Cook in combat with Grosher, and it's out of bounds on the full, and the free kick will logically go to Sandringham. Olympic Tyre scoreboard, it's 10-6 to 8 goals.
Bill, would you suggest any change for Sandringham at this stage around the centre area?
I'd put Pledger in the centre, liven it up, toughen it up. That's Annanson breaking clear again, but he's got to go back. Pledger or Mailing, but probably Pledger.
Pledger would be the man, no doubt about that, Bill.
Well, they've got more problems than that. They've got O'Reilly at centre half forward. It's a big headache. He's dominating that area, but here's Annanson. This is a better kick. It won't make the distance. Crowded goal square, O'Reilly high, and it's rushed through for a point. Port Melbourne 10-7, doing most of the attacking this term. Sandringham have kicked 1 goal, and they've kicked 8 for the game. Drosher putting the ball back into play. He's taking the other side of the ground this time. Up there high was Mannix, but it's Port Melbourne again. Wilkinson playing very well in towards the full forward spot. O'Reilly reaching but not grabbing. This time to Saru. Saru into the centre to Pledger, and down, coming down strongly is Thompson. Thompson up towards Cook at full forward, and O'Reilly, they can't handle it, but it's out to Swan. Swan's got a clear passage to goal, but it's offline, I think. No, it's in. Forward dropped in beautifully. Another goal to Wilkinson this time, playing beautiful. It out of the centre, but it went the wrong way to Chapman. Cook coming up to try and assist, but the umpires paid the mark. Chapman at the back pocket, steering it out towards the half-back line, but the ball's got to go back. The Olympic Tyre scoreboard at the 10-minute mark in the second quarter shows that Port 11-7 have opened up a reasonable lead on Sandringham 8 goals. A margin of 25 points, and Port doing it the better at the moment. 4-1 to a goal this quarter. Well, that tells its own story, and the goal for Sandringham was kicked by Adams. And now it's Chapman from the back pocket getting it up towards the half-back line, and that looks like a mark to Mannix to me, and Mannix will take it. The mark at the half-back flank for Sandringham, and they've slowed the game up rather than quicken it up. Sandringham need to run, and run more than what they've done at the moment. Sims in front, and Sims will take the mark. He's at the centre wing, and they've slowed the game down. 11-7 to 8 goals, and Sims puts the ball into attack. Hunt coming from behind, but in front was Thompson, and the Port defence holding firm with Thompson to repel that thrust into the forward line by Sandringham. Thompson now out from the back line, but this is an ill-directed kick. Wilkins dropped the easy one, as you saw, and this will allow Bell to come along and head for home. His kick is up towards Hunt, struggling up there, knocking it away from him. A chance to pounce on it by Hayes, working hard foot and kicking the ball back towards goal, and he might have dropped it in for full points.
Great goal.
There's the goal. Great goal, that. Gary Bryce not very happy about that at all, and I think it might be that they let Hayes run practically without any opposition.
Well, yeah, so that was a magnificent goal, Phil. That was one of the best goals I've ever seen from a player running towards a boundary and had to bring it right back, and that was Hayes. And a much-needed 1-2 to Sandringham.
Righto, Rob. Comments there from Ted Henrys, former VFA champion with Preston and JJ Lister medal winner. There's the bounce back in the centre of the ground, and it's Port Melbourne going forward again through Christo, actually straight across the ground towards the wing position to Dermott. Dermott now with the kick from the centre of the ground to Wilkinson. Wilkinson sees a short pass there, and leading out and taking the ball for Port Melbourne is Kavanagh. Kavanagh on the half-forward flank position. 73 plays 54. He's already kicked 1 goal, but he won't have another because it's through for 1 behind. Port Melbourne 11 goals, 844. Sandringham 9 straight goals, 54, and they can thank 74 to 9 straight goals, 54, and they can certainly thank their lucky stars for the accuracy. That's Sandringham. Players directed to the broadcast box side of the ground or the base side of the ground. A good mark there going up high is O'Reilly.
And that could be the contender for the Gillette mark of the day. The $50 in cash, and at the end of the season could be worth $1,000.
O'Reilly has 4 goals too. Lining up now, the 5th goal, a long way out. There's his kick. Right down in towards the teeth of goal. Fred Cook is there, but over the top of Cook in towards goal, and Kavanagh boots it off the ground and through for full points. A great goal to Kavanagh in Port Melbourne. Well, Port Melbourne now racing away from Sandringham. Any other changes you can think of at the moment, Ted, that you'd make if you were Peter Hogan?
I think at the way they're playing at the moment, I'd switch the forward line on the back line. I think I'll reverse it because of the back line of Sandringham's not doing any good at the moment. They're not picking up their men. They're allowing players such as Wilkinson and a player like Kavanagh also to run loose down on their forward line, plus a few others. And Evans should be tagged in the centre, and Wilkins is trying to get kicks. He should be tagging Evans. When you get an opponent on top, you've got to tag him, Rob, and they're not doing this.
80 plays 54 on the Olympic Tyre scoreboard, and we've now played 12.5 minutes into the second quarter, and the umpire has found a kick, and it's going to go to Ananson right in the centre of the ground on the VFA side. Ananson directs play right down to the centre half forward position. From behind is Mark Saru. Play on, says the umpire. Saru gets his kick into Scott. Scott now goes for a long driving kick over the wing position, but it's Christo who comes in defending for Port Melbourne. Loose man there in Swan, but he's immediately grabbed, and the umpire says you're going to pay the mark. Well, I thought he was off, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Coming in now for his 15th kick. Puts the ball right down into the teeth of goal. Fred Cook has 2 opponents on him, and it's Sims, one of the tallest men on the ground. He gets a handball. Chapman is there coming in just at the right moment for Sandringham. And across to Gilmore, today playing in his correct jumper number 24. Gilmore now sees a lead in the centre of the ground. It's Pledger who's there in the centre, but grabbing the ball is a Bayer. He gets it down towards the centre half forward position for Sandringham. The umpire has found a free kick. Well, you agree with that, Ted?
Certainly, no doubt about that. He was laying on top of the ball. O'Reilly's kick.
O'Reilly now, a big driving kick right down in towards the teeth of goal, and a mark there in the last line of defence to Drosher. Drosher about to play on, but the umpire's found a 15-metre penalty. Drosher there, and the umpire, the goal umpire, having a bit of a chat. I'd give a lot of money to find out what's going on there. I don't think we could broadcast it though. Drosher, a volatile player in the VFA, former Dandenong player. Back to the action now. It's grabbed by Christo. Christo kicks the ball down into the scoring zone. Fred Cook in front. Oh, and a good mark under pressure there to Fred Cook. Well, a very awkward mark, that one, Ted.
It was an awkward mark, and looking back on Fred Cook's past 3 games, I think he must have had a virus, because the way he's playing today, that's how we know Fred Cook can play.
Well, he had a lot of pressure today and a lot of questions to answer, and he's doing it. 3-1 now, coming in for his 4th goal. The umpire says, you've got it, Fred Cook. Another goal to Fred and Port Melbourne. Melbourne streaking away now, 6 to Sandringham, 9 goals straight, 54. Ian Gibbs, what's the state of the game?
Port Melbourne have kicked 6 goals, 2 in this quarter. Sandringham, 2 straight goals.
There's the bounce again. A great battle today between Sims and Ananson. Ananson sort of scooping it out there, but missing the ball. Wilkins from the across to Pledger, and Pledger has grabbed round the neck. He decides to give a handball to his teammate going past, but fortunately for him, it's Wilkins who comes in. Gee, Wilkins is not having a good day today. Lost the ball there. Now it's Swan going through, showing plenty of initiative, and gets the free kick as well from the umpire.
Yes, Wilkins not going too well. He's fumbling the ball, and that's in his endeavour to try and get into the game. OK, Swan now, right from the centre of the ground. Gets his kick, his 16th kick, up towards the half-forward line. The big fellow goes up in Adams. He tried to knock it down to the ground. Oh, here's a lay down that's there. Kavanagh coming in towards an open goal, takes the shot, and he's put it through for full points to Port Melbourne to take them to 14-8. Hunt's the player that Sandringham need to put into the game, as Terry Wilkins now gets his kick towards the half-forward line. A push in the back, and the free kick will be taken by Gilmore of Sandringham. So Gilmore can see the lead up on the half-forward line, and here's Hayes setting himself to take the mark. Little Bay coming in a bit too late. Sandringham need to score goals to get themselves back into the game. Big Rex Hunt goes up in the air, fails to take the mark. There's a kick away from the pack, and moving in is Christo. John Christo it is. As the ball is forced to the boundary line, it will be thrown back in once again. There you have the time. It's 18 minutes into the second quarter, with Port Melbourne working their way right on top. Down on the Sandringham forward line, which has been very rare in the second quarter. Neither ruckman getting the advantage there. Hayes throwing himself over the ball, passes it out towards Pledger, who tried to break away. Pledger's on the ball, but holds it, and the free kick will go against him. There's Bill Tawney down, giving a few instructions, and Thompson is the player who'll take the free kick. So Thompson is allowed to walk up with the penalty towards centre half-back. Preston right on top of Caulfield in their game, kicks it wide of the centre. Evans goes high in the air, fails to take the mark. Bradbury slipping at the crucial stage. Little Bayer kicks it off the ground, but coming in is Sims. Now Sims tried to do too much then, and he gets it across eventually towards his teammate in Bell. Bell with a pass to Scott. Scott can't handle it at all. Down they go, and the free kick, Christo held, and he'll get the free kick. So Christo with his kick out towards Evans. Evans fails to take the mark, but recovers quickly enough to be able to dodge, then get a hand pass. Oh, have a look at this as Wilkinson lines him up, puts it across the face of the big sticks and out on the full. Lucky let off for Sandringham as David Drosher moves back. And it'll be Drosher who'll try and relieve the pressure. They're weak on the back line, Sandringham, at the moment. Drosher forced to kick over the mark. Comes out of the back pocket, drops it short on the half-back line. Sims tried to take two bites, punched away from him, and it comes down here to Mannix. Mannix a little bit slow in thinking then, goes to Scott. Scott to Saru. Saru can't break away with the ball, and it's a game of fumbles on the part of the backmen of Sandringham as we see Mannix gain the free kick. They needed that to get themselves out of trouble, but they'll be back in it again in a moment. You watch as it comes down, this time in the direction of Bell. Bell gets his kick towards the centre wing. Up they go for it, push in the back, and the free kick will be taken by Thompson of Port Melbourne. Alf Buse, A. Buse. Pretty well known. Alf Buse as he moved in there, and Thompson now will be the player after gaining another 15-metre penalty. As the ball returned, and now our Dandy Dollar sign reminds me of the Dandy Dollar dash at half-time. So keep that in mind as Sims goes up to take his characteristic big mark. Sims now coming out of the half-back line, plays it towards the wing, and moving down is Gilmore to take this one. Gilmore further around the wing position, drops it a bit short, allows Vic Annanson to get one hand to it, and the big fellow is standing his ground to allow the ball to go over the line and out. Righto, Bill Jacobs.
Well, Annanson dominating the ruck as far as I can see. I thought he may, he still is, and he gets another free kick. Port Melbourne are 14, 8 to 9 goals, and they're playing like that, like a difference of 38 points. And there it goes into the forward line, and there's Swan. Swan continues to dominate. He's at the half-forward flank now. And that's against Gilmore, and you saw what happened. And Swan urged Gilmore into the free kick. Coaxed him into it, if you like. And Swan is on the half-forward line. He'll kick long, no doubt. Lead up by Wilkinson, ignored. And the kick is long, and it might be a goal. It is a goal, and Porter killing them. 44 points the difference as Pledger takes it out of the centre, and Hall once again spoils Hunt up there on the forward line. There's a chance for Way coming out of the pack with the ball, but it's smothered, and backing up as John Christo, picked up again by Way. It's touched in transit, so it's got to be a play on call. Hall delivers out there, and Bradbury's waiting for it on the half-back line. Gives it across quickly, across to Kavanagh, and he spears it down towards the half-forward line. Adams comes up. Futile. Kavanagh again. Immediately disposes of it, lost the run of it, this time Wilkins, but it's flipped out by Evans, intercepted there by Adams. Into the centre of the ground, it's 15, 8 to 9 goals, with Port leading handsomely at the 22.5-minute mark, and holding the ball as the call against Sandringham. And the tackle was by Ibea. There he is, the smallest man on the ground. And he's looking over, and there's Port Melbourne players in abundance here. Swan, well shepherded by Wilkinson. Lucky to pick it up on the rebound, but Port are doing everything as a team. And Swan into the forward line, and the mark to O'Reilly. Well, I suggested before the game started that Port Melbourne had more match winners than Sandringham. And that's precisely what they have, and there's one of them, Grant O'Reilly. The other one was the player that kicked at Swan. It's 15-8 to 9 goals. Port a more disciplined team at this stage of the game, coming up towards half-time. And O'Reilly a chance to kick his 5th goal. And he has. That's Port Melbourne 16 goals, 8. 104, and Sandringham 9 goals, a difference of 7 goals, 8. And there's got to be some shuffles around in this Sandringham team if they're going to get anywhere near Port, because at the moment they're a lost cause, although there's half a game to go.
Well, they did start, Bill, by moving Pledge, but I think they have to do more moves than that. But just looking at the way they're playing, they're just not playing good enough, no matter where you move players to, what positions you change them. I think Sandringham have to get themselves running, and they're not running at the moment. They're kicking the ball in the air, and this is their downfall. Or one of them.
There's Anderson. There's one of the reasons they're down. Sims is going to get a free kick out of that, but Anderson has been controlling the rucks throughout. Sims certainly around the ground has been a profitable player for Sandringham. Anyhow, he's getting it up. He's looking up there for Hunt, and Hunt has led up, but dropping across in front of him was Doyle. It hit the turf for Chapman to Pledger, and the umpire will bounce. Position pretty close to the centre half forward spot for Sandringham. And what are they up to this time?
Plenty of action coming into this game now, and a little bit of frustration on the part of Sandringham, I would suggest. Can the Zebras come back? At the moment, it's John Christo defending for Port Melbourne. Big pack of players goes up right over the top of the players. Scott grabs the ball now, and he'll put the ball back into the forward area for Sandringham. Oh, getting up very high was Pledger. Well, that was a contender if you'd have taken it. He might have had his eye on the ball, Phil, but you've got to mark it if you go up like that in the back of a player. There's the kick now, going out to Kavanagh for Port Melbourne. Weaves his way around 2 opponents, then he gets a handball in. Going forward now for Port Melbourne through Bradbury. He cops one high, and the umpire saw it too. I don't think it was too much to worry about. He decides to have his kick. Fred Cook is down there in front, but the whistle had gone, so the ball will go back. Port Melbourne 16-8, 104. Sandringham 9 straight goals, 54 on the Olympic Tyre scoreboard. And we've now played 30 seconds of time on in the second quarter. Well, Sandringham are notorious for coming back. We've seen it before. I wouldn't leave your television set until you see what happens in the third quarter after half-time. Don't go counting your money yet, Phil. There's the kick down to the full forward position. Fred Cook is in front for it from behind as Sims. He gets the ball down, knocked down there, picked up by Christo, screws it back towards the big sticks, and one behind only to Port Melbourne.
I'm counting the losses at the moment.
Well, now it's 2 minutes of time on. David Droscher, the fullback for Sandringham, the former Dandenong player. Long driving kick right up towards the centre of the ground. Coming through is Swan, trying to scoop the ball off the ground. He can't do so. Picking it up and getting it forward was Way out to Hayes. Hayes marks on the wing position on the Beach Road side of the ground. Decides to handball to Gilmore. Gilmore will go for a bit of a run. He'll want to get his kick in. Oh, should have had a kick there. Now taking the ball and going forward is Anderson. Here's the kick now, coming out, picked up by Swan. He'll handball to Big Vic Anderson. He'll have to handball quickly. He does so back to Swan. Swan now down to the half-forward flank position. And it's Christo who marks. Jim Christo on the half-forward flank position. Only be about 45 metres out from goal. More than a 45-degree angle. He already has 2 goals. Right there in front of the big Sandringham crowd and Sandringham Hill. There's the kick right in towards goal, offline. And the umpire says 1 behind only. The Olympic Tyre scoreboard has Port Melbourne 16-10 to Sandringham 9 straight goals. The Olympic Tyre scoreboard 106 playing 54. Back to the action again. It's Jim Christo who'll take the ball in towards the forward pocket position, and Demetrio marks. No, it's not. It's Thompson. Anderson it is, number 38. Very acute angle there, although he has still plenty of space to look at in lining it up. Anderson now kicking off, screwing back just at the right time, and another goal to the Borough.
Statistics are quite amazing quarter as regards the scores. Port Melbourne have kicked 10 goals through in this quarter. Sandringham 2 straight goals.
They did a similar thing last week. They kicked what, 8-3 to 8-4 to what, 3-3.
3.5 minutes of time on now, and it's Port Melbourne defending, coming out to the Bay side of the ground through Doyle. Gives it to Swan. Swan gets a kick in. Oh, under a lot of pressure there is Anderson in front of Saru, but he gets the mark. Now he's kicking down to the half-forward flank position. It's Christo, but in front, and a good mark there to Chapman. Bruce Chapman for Sandringham.
That would be the Gillette mark of the day so far for the $50 in cash, 29 minutes into the second quarter.
Now the opportunity for Greg Way as Sandringham to go forward. Come on, get on and kick it. Sandringham need goals at this stage. Can the Zebras come back? John Christo it is, under a lot of pressure there. Handballs across to Bradbury. Bradbury gets his kick right from the VFA sign, down towards the centre-half forward position, and a great one-handed mark to Wilkinson. And I guess that could be a contender for the Gillette mark of the day, but the one a few moments before was certainly better. Dermott it is now, taking the hand pass, lining up the big sticks. The umpire moves across, and another behind to Port Melbourne. Well, if Port Melbourne had been kicking accurately, I'd suggest it would have been a cakewalk. But there's still the opportunity for Sandringham to come back. But they certainly have the job in front of them now, the 4.5-minute mark of time on in the second quarter. 113 plays 54. A big lead to Port Melbourne, last year's premiers. Back to the action. Sims down on his knees. Handball's over his head. Goes to Adams. Adams can't do anything with it. Dick Anderson's there also on his knees. Dermott moves in. Looks like they all want to play on their knees at the moment. And Tawney says, Bill Tawney says, we'll bounce it.
On the half-forward line. And Port Melbourne doing all the attacking in the second quarter. Comes out to Pledger. Pledger in towards the centre. But players having trouble finding their feet out here. And it's Doyle who comes into it. Hand pass here from Thompson. Comes across to Christo. Christo downfield towards the half-forward line. Bradbury reaching up. Takes a nice fingertip mark. He's right in the game. Bradbury sends it across to centre half-forward. Up they fly for it. There's a hand pass by O'Reilly out towards that centre half-forward zone. Having a lot of trouble is Kavanagh in trying to handle the ball. Down goes Dermott, gets tripped, and he'll get the free kick. Brunswick 41, leading Dandenong 35 at half-time in their game. Waverley 51, leading Northcote at half-time 41. And Sandringham are packing their defences with 2 more men in defence as it goes towards the goals and the minus score again to take Port Melbourne on to 17-12 at Sandringham, 9 goals straight. Sandringham a lot of trouble. They're being beaten in almost every department at the moment, and particularly once that ball hits the ground. And that was Wilkinson, and in the air too. Wilkinson across towards centre half forward, and Cook leading out has taken the mark 40 metres out from goal right in front. He's kicked 4 goals, 1 so far, Fred Cook. Lining them up at the southern end of the ground. See if he can get that usual Puma accuracy as he moves in. On its way right through the middle it goes, and that takes Port Melbourne on to 18-12 with Sandringham on 9 goals straight. Well, who would have thought this at Sandringham particularly, Ted?
Well, I didn't think so.
Only Bill?
Yes, only Bill thought so, but Sandringham are playing nowhere near as well as they can play. I know Port Melbourne are not allowed to play any better, Phil. Port Melbourne, as you mentioned before, are winning all over the ground. Not only on the ground with the smaller players, but they're also winning in the air. Sims is probably the only player who's able to contest them in the air.
Righto, and there's Anderson getting the knockout from the ruck again, but it's taken away by Hodges. Hodges towards centre half forward. Too strong in defence, Port Melbourne. It's Doyle who took the mark, and Doyle now for the short pass. There are 2 players in there for Port Melbourne, and Dermott is the player to get in front to take it. Now Dermott with his kick up towards centre half forward. They rise for it, no one able to take the mark for Port, which is unusual at this stage, and the umpire opens it up.
48 marks to Port Melbourne, 28 to Sandringham.
Well, there's the aerial duels being won clearly by Port Melbourne. All led by this fellow going up in the ruck, Grant O'Reilly. O'Reilly couldn't take it away. Hayes is the player to get his kick in, but straight to Vic Annanson, who is resting in the centre there. Annanson towards half forward, and Bill Swan, who's moved down from the centre, right down on the half forward line, comes in to take the mark at the 34-minute mark with his 24th first kick coming up.
Well, I think they've moved Swan out in the half forward flank to give him a rest, Phil.
Might
He's
have
been
done
in
that.
everything.
I doubt it. He's done everything, Swan. As he has in most games that we've seen him play this year. Puts it on its way, and I think it's another goal up to Port Melbourne. Yes, another one. They move on to 19-12 with Sandringham on 9 goals straight. So there are 11 goals up at the moment, Port Melbourne. 11 goals. It's been a fantastic second quarter. What's been the kicking in this quarter, Ian?
Port Melbourne have kicked 12 goals, 5. Sandringham, 2 straight goals.
Well, he's looking at his watch. I don't know, what would you do with Rex Hunt? Would you put him in the ruck, put him on the ball?
By all means, I'd put him round about the centre of the ground somewhere. They'd be rucking, even playing him in the centre. He would liven them up a little bit.
And that's the siren anyway for half-time with Port Melbourne right on top. 19-12 to Sandringham's 9 goals straight. Bill Jacobs.
Well, you shouldn't start a sentence with well. 31 scoring shots to 9 is sufficient indication of just how good Port Melbourne are today, how much superior they are to Sandringham, and how many more match winners I suggested they would have, and they've got them all over the ground. It would be unkind to harshly criticise Sandringham, but one must say they've got too many front runners who put in when things are easy and they're not putting in today. And Port Melbourne have done particularly well. They've revealed themselves as the best team in the association. It was a big challenge for Port today, and they've answered with everything. The game's not over by any stretch of imagination, but if Sandringham could get up off the floor in this one, it'll be more than a football miracle. It's congratulations to Port Melbourne for magnificent first half of football. They thoroughly deserved their lead, and of course it would, as I said, be a miracle if they lost it.
Ted Henrys.
Well, what a great quarter of football that second one was by Port Melbourne, Phil. They did everything right, whereas Sandringham did everything wrong. Port Melbourne did not allow Sandringham to get into that game whatsoever in that second quarter. They beat them to the ball, and even when the odd time that the Sandringham player beat the Port Melbourne opponent, he was brought to the ground and held and couldn't get away with it. Their tackling has been first class, Port Melbourne. Sandringham hardly had the ball up on the forward line in that second quarter, but when they did, they couldn't do much with it. They're wasting their players up there, particularly Rex Hunt. I think they should bring him down onto the ball area somewhere, even opposing to Vic Annanson, who's controlling the ruck there. But take it from there, Phil. One man can't win a game, and I think it's a matter of the whole Sandringham side. They've got to pull their socks up. They've got pretty long socks. They can pull them up. They've shown us before that they've got ability, but they're certainly not showing it out there today.
All right, Ted, now this is where the interesting department will come in with the statistics on the game. Because with Port Melbourne getting on top the way they did in every department, not almost every department, in every area. Ian, what are those statistics?
Well, they certainly outmarked Sandringham. They've had 50 marks to half-time, Sandringham 28. In that quarter, they kicked 12 goals, 5, Sandringham 2 straight goals. Free kicks to half-time, 26 to Port Melbourne, 19 to Sandringham. And Port Melbourne kick getters. Swan, he'd be the best player on the ground with 21 kicks. Wilkinson's playing well with 13, and Grant O'Reilly, 14 kicks, 7 very strong marks, and he's kicked 5 goals. Jim Christo playing well with 13 kicks, and Thompson, a very strong defender with 8 kicks. Sandringham kick getters, they're scarce. Saru with 9, Sims 11, and Gilmore 7. Goal kickers for Port Melbourne, 5 each to Cook and O'Reilly, 3 each to Kavanagh and Swan, 2 to Jim Christo and 1 to Anderson. Sandringham, 2 goals to Hunt, Chapman and Adams, and 1 each to Mailing, Way and Hayes.
Righto, and the scores at half-time. We have Port Melbourne on 19-12 and Sandringham on 9 goals straight. We're about to come up to the richest foot race in the world, heats for it anyway, with the Dandy Dollar Dash. They can win a substantial amount of cash. John Russell will tell us all about that later on, with also the car out there, and we should see some pretty good running coming up. Now there it is, quarter by quarter at the moment. They confused me for a second when I saw the 4 quarters listed there, but 0-0. But 126 to 46. Who would have thought that after the first quarter? Anyway, we'll be back for the Dandy Dollar Dash. Thank you, old fellow. John Russell there. And the score at half-time, Port Melbourne 19-12, 126 to Sandringham's 9 goals straight, 54.
And the
keenness for you. It looks as though they're just warming up for the game. Port Melbourne out there going through their routine while we're waiting on Sandringham to make their appearance on the ground here. Now we just remind you, oh well, there's Sandringham now being led out by Terry Wilkins, who needs to do a lot more in the second half to get Sandringham anywhere near the Port Melbourne score. Now the best player on the ground so far would be from the Sun, as just mentioned to us. Each team's trip away is on this game, Barley or the Bush. Well, I reckon at the moment it looks like the Bush for Sandringham. How'd you like the trip away on that? Darky McFarlane, the secretary of Port Melbourne, to breathe a sigh of relief. Well, his wife's celebrating her 50th birthday today, and unfortunately she's in Cedar Court. Well, no doubt she'd be enjoying the game there today. Also, we're very sorry, Ted, to hear of the passing of Mabel Libbis, the first life member, the woman's life member at Coburg, passed away recently, and we all remember Mabel with respect.
Yes, we certainly do, Phil, particularly for the entertainment at the refreshments at the Coburg ground.
But now we're just about ready to get underway in the second half.
Phil, I think probably congratulations in order to George McKenzie, the second of the VFA Thirds, who was awarded the British Empire Medal in the Queen's Birthday Honours. A great stalwart of the VFA, particularly with the VFA Thirds, and it was a well-deserved honour to that gentleman.
He'd be pleased too, George, to see the way this match is being presented today. Unfortunate to see the scores the way they are. Well, I suppose from an entertainment point of view, not degrading Port Melbourne at all. And there goes the siren as we get ready for the second half of the game. Several Port players are on top, and we need the Sandringham players to put in a lot more. Now it comes down towards Pledger, who couldn't break away. There's Swan with the fair bump, umpire. That was straight up the middle, Ted.
That was a good shirt, Fred. I thought that was well done then, but the umpire saw it differently.
But I don't know. I know Sandringham are not allowed to comment about umpires, but I just feel that it has favoured Port. Maybe it's looked that way because Port have played so well. But Sims goes up to try and take the mark, couldn't do so. It's Hayes who comes into it in defence. Hayes puts it around looking for Scott, but it's beaten Scott well over the line. It's 27 frees to 20 in Port Melbourne's favour. I don't often think it's the number of frees either, Ian. It's where they're given and how they're given. OK, here's the show now for Obeya to move through. Obeya passes it out to Wilkinson. Wilkinson up towards centre forward. And, an easy one missed by Mannix then. Pledger picks it up. He needs to fire in the game a bit. And there coming across is Wilkins, a player who really needs to get going for Sandringham. He goes for the pass up here towards Buse. Buse was more intent on looking around to see who thumped then, rather than keeping going for the ball. And there he'll give a free away. No, Buse is battled on. And he eventually gets the free against him again. No, the umpire pointed the other way. It was a bad signal from the umpire as it comes through towards Chapman. Chapman now at Sandringham up towards the half-forward line, and Mailing is the player to move in and take the mark. So Mailing out on the left half-forward flank now. Goes bang, looking for the big fellow in Hunt up here. He goes up and Hunt has pulled down a good mark. He copped one too. Former cop. And he's kicked 2 goals straight. So this is the first kick of Hunt since the first quarter. And he's as solid as a brick. As he gets ready now to come in on a fairly acute angle. Big Rex Hunt. And he's put it through, I'd say, for full points to the Zeppelins. Right back here, scores 10 goals straight by Sandringham. Not even up to half the score of Port Melbourne yet. But Ted Henrys and Bill Jacobs are already getting excited. We're 3 minutes into the second half. And it's Sims getting the knockout from the ruck. Pledger gains possession. Pledger gets it out towards the half-forward line. Look at the Sandringham players move in. There's Mannix now. Shoots it up towards the full forward zone. And Hunt coming out now to take another mark. Oh, they're lifting their game. There's Norm Goss wandering through the crowd too. Norm, the stalwart of Port Melbourne, as now Hunt lines him up very deliberately, puts it on its way. It's drifting. And the minor score of a behind. And it's their first minor score on the board. They go to 10-1. Sandringham with Port Melbourne on 19-12. They need goals every shot if they can get them. Sandringham 10-1, Port Melbourne 19-12. At the 4-minute mark into the third quarter. Peter Hall gets the lead down here, and as Dermott comes down to accept the pass, he immediately plays on and gets himself in trouble, plays it across the ground, and bearing in on the ball is Chapman. Chapman tried to get it, a desperation there by Bradbury, and it comes off the man over the line and will be thrown back in. Who's that carrying on down there? John Christo. And then it comes once again, Big Vic Anderson up. He gets interfered with, I'd say. He was the one who went down to the ground. Umpire up talking with Alf Buse. And it's Anderson now. Hogan was going off too. Well, Hogan's heroes are not performing today, are they? As it comes out to the boundary line, over and out, but the umpire has given a free to Hodges. Let's see if Mr. Hogan's talk can help Sandringham out today. If his mouth could do it, they'd win. All right, it goes up towards centre half forward. Up they go. No one able to break away with the ball, and it will be a ball up again on the half forward line for Sandringham. Bill.
19-12 to 10-1. The Olympic Tyre scoreboard on the half forward flank. For Sandringham, it was O'Brien, then John Christo, eventually up to Bradbury at half-back flank. That's good football to Evans at centre wing. Breaks the tackle. That's bad football then. And it might be holding the ball. Well, there's one thing for certain. Sandringham are tackling harder and running more, which of course they have to. And it's Wilkins. And Wilkins further afield to Pledger. And Port Melbourne doing the silly things there. Free kick goes downfield. The infringement being against Bradley. The recipient of the free kick is Chapman, and there's a 15-metre penalty applied. Kicked 2 goals, Dermott laughing at the umpire. It's 19-12 to 10-1. Remarkable scoreboard that, the Olympic Tyre scoreboard, and Chapman lining them up, and it's got a chance offline. 1 point. 1 point only, and Sandringham, when they can't afford to miss, are missing. Hogan pointing out some defects in his side forward system. It's 10-2 to 19-12. And Peter Hall getting it back into play. That's a good kick. Upfield, except that it found Sims. Sims at centre half forward. Belated across to Way. Now to Wilkins. Wilkins in trouble, but he's at half forward. Up towards Hunt and Hall, and good mark. He's moving around a bit now. He's giving them a moving target.
Well, he's putting in now, Bill, but you've got to be fair to Hunt. The ball wasn't up his end in the second quarter.
He should have gone and got it a little bit more, Phil.
Well, you've got to be told.
Hunt on the boundary line with the score 19-12 to 10-2, and he's come around. Ooh. Out of bounds on the full, and the free kick to go to Port Melbourne. And Christo, John Christo was the first one up there looking for it, and he'll get it. Sandringham, desperate of course on 10-2 to 19-12, and it's John Christo coming up out of the back pocket. Up towards his team's half-back line, and Sims again, this time beating Anderson in the air.
What a great duel they've had today, Bill.
Great duel indeed. Sims marking pretty well throughout the day. Is Hunt leading up? That's a mark. There's a bit of activity
well this quarter, Bill.
I beg your pardon, Phil?
I said he's playing well this quarter.
Oh, he's doing remarkably well, if you think so. Now, he had a shocking kick a moment ago. This one may be more to his liking. He's still out on the half-forward line. And he's missed it again. It's gone right across the face of goals. So, a free kick to Port Melbourne to Bradbury, and there's Hogan, the coach of Sandringham. Bradbury gets it out of the back line, up to the half-back flank, thumped away. A chance for Dermott. Dermott in control, went for the line, and it's over the line for throw-in. Between half-forward flank and forward pocket for Sandringham. Their score is 10-2, and Port Melbourne 19-12.
Sandringham have had 5 deliberate shots for goal so far this quarter and scored 1 goal out of it.
Well and truly into attack, and they are now, and it's Hodges. Hodges is kicking high, looking for Hunt to come up and lead. He has, and knocked it close to the line. but there's a free kick against him. Push in the back and the free kick will go to Thompson. Thompson will take it across goal, stumbling for a moment, but he comes up out of the back line to get it to the half-back flank. Sims has got the sack. Sims has really lifted in this quarter. Sandringham have lifted, playing on to Hodges across the half-forward line. Smother by Dermott. Christo knocks to the line. That's John Christo, and it's over the line and out of bounds. 10 minutes into the term, and Port Melbourne 19-12 to Sandringham 10-2. Olympic Tyres scoreboard. That's got to be a free kick to Anderson. They've had no counter for him. Sims has certainly matched him in the air, but not in the ruck.
Righto, and at the 10-minute mark, Vic Anderson to relieve the pressure for Port Melbourne. He's going to play it straight up the ground. Swan is the player who's been winning. O'Reilly gets a shove. Two Sandringham players go up, and it was Hodges to come in and take the mark. So Hodges, right from the centre of the ground, gets the opportunity to put it down towards the half-forward line. There's Hunt out there. He fails to take the mark. Bradbury gets a push in the back, and he gets the throw. Bradbury now from the half-back line to relieve again for the Burrows. Seagulls in the background as he goes to the hand pass, and there's Dermott, who ran himself into trouble there after calling for the pass, and the umpire's given a free kick out of this, and it will be taken by Pledger. He plays it across field, and the mark taken here by Chapman. Chapman straight downfield for goal, and what's he done? It's a behind again. So Sandringham 10-3, 63. Port Melbourne 19-12, 126. Their score could have been looking respectable, Ian. What's been the kicking?
That's their 6th deliberate shot, and they've kicked 1 goal, 3 in this quarter.
Now a free kick awarded Port Melbourne's way, and it will be taken by Dermott. He gets the lead from Swan, who's moved out towards the wing. Swan traps the ball. Mannix right behind him, but Swan with the kick in towards the half-forward line. Hayes is the player moving after it. He's the one who's gained possession. Ducks out of trouble there, but holding the ball, says the umpire, and it'll be the free kick to be taken by Kavanagh. So Kavanagh out on the half-forward line, gets his high kick in. Fred Cook and O'Reilly in there. O'Reilly got his hands to the ball. Bump was Drosher, and it's gone through for a behind. So Port Melbourne go to 19-13, and Sandringham are 10 goals 3. Drosher to take the kick off. Very quick in that. Up they go for it. Comes down into the hands of Wilkins of Sandringham, who couldn't break away with the ball. They were over the top of Dermott, who'll receive the free kick. So Dermott from just short of the centre. Cook making his lead. Drosher coming in from behind. Cook getting a bit of attention, and the umpire has given the free kick to Cook against David Drosher. He's kicked 5 goals 1, Fred Cook.
And if he can kick this one, Phil, it will be his 50th for the year.
Goal, that is. So Fred Cook moves in, and he's put it through for another one to Port Melbourne, his 50th. Right back here, and Port again, it's pushed down to the ground, and moving in is Kavanagh. Kavanagh having trouble trying to get rid of the ball. Now gets rid of it, gets up on the feet rather quickly, gets grabbed high, and he gets the free kick. Good work by Kavanagh. Caulfield 55, trailing Preston 94. Progressive score from that match. Geelong West 80, leading Coburg 71. And there's the kick from Kavanagh towards centre forward. Cook being bustled now out of position. And this is a chance now for Sandringham to get it away. And it's gone straight into the hands of Swan out on the half-forward line. Kavanagh in a bit of trouble in the hands of the trainers back here downfield. And this is the 24th kick coming up for Swan. And Swan going for the short pass across to Dermott, who was left unattended, made good position. Coming in too late. There's O'Brien of Sandringham. 13.5-minute mark. Gary Bryce looks as though he might be deciding to come on the ground. Have a bit of a run. And there's Dermott, kept the ball low and kicked it hard, but he's put it through for a behind. So Port Melbourne go to 2014, 134. And that's Dermott's 4th straight behind. Rob Astbury not with us at the moment. It's a pretty important message by phone. We hope we can give you some news when he gets back. Okay, that's football news it is. It's Sims now dribbling it out from the pack. It's Hayes who gains possession. Hayes up towards the half-forward line, but Thompson coming into defence for Port Melbourne. Gets it towards Wilkinson, and Wilkinson of Port has taken the mark. Wilkinson not wasting any time. They've got their game flowing again, Port Melbourne, as Kavanagh comes in to take the mark at centre half-forward. Let's see if he can kick it the same as he did last time. He certainly got the distance, not the direction. He's put it a bit higher this time, and the goal umpire moving across, but not enough to say it's a behind. It's a goal again. And they move to 21-14, Port Melbourne.
Third term, and the difference is 77 points favouring Port Melbourne on the Olympic Tyres scoreboard. And it's Annanson doing what he's done for most of the day. Misfired for the moment. Jim Christo in there. Play on was a good call. Pledger out of the centre, up towards centre half forward, and it's O'Brien. In fact, he's a little bit better than centre half forward. About 35 metres out and directly in front of goal. Chance for O'Brien to score for Sandringham, and they need it badly. And he's kicked a goal, I would suggest. It's a goal to Sandringham, and they are 11-3, 21-4.
Well, Bill, no doubt about it. Sandringham are trying to get themselves back in the game, but Port Melbourne are still going on the way they have been. Very controlled play. Sandringham appears to me to be a very undisciplined side at the moment. They've been putting some of their forwards up on the back line when the ball moves up there. It gives me the appearance of running about 4 ruck rovers, but that's no good at all. Those players, when they get up on the back line, they're only standing around, and Port Melbourne are doing it well up there.
Well, Sandringham have been accurate. They're 11-3. It's out of the centre, or trying to get it out of the centre was Wilkins. Sims to assist. Then Mannix, and they've pushed it out towards their half-forward line. Thompson shows no fear whatsoever. Beautiful football to get it to Swan, and Swan out towards Evans on the half-forward flank. Evans controlling the ball in great fashion, and a flying shot for goal is through for a goal. That was a magnificent goal by Evans, and let's not forget the instigator of it, Thompson, and the Port Melbourne players are going to him now. That's one of the most fearless dashes you'd see in football.
Yes, he passed about 6 or 7 players there. Let's have a look at it again. Mick Thompson, it was number 33. There he is, getting past one player and yet another, and finally getting it out to Swan.
Well, that was a great effort, and Port have resisted the efforts of Sandringham to come back into the game this quarter. Sandringham 11-3, Port 22-14 on the Olympic Tyres scoreboard. That was Sims getting it out of the centre towards Wilkins. Wilkins gives it back to Way, onto the half-forward line. Chapman, who's put in for Sandringham. Took a long while to get rid of it, but Way comes back to get the ball across in the direction of Hunt, and Hunt has picked up the mark. Yep. Obviously the message from the coach at half-time would have been to move around a bit, and he's done just that.
See the agility of this man. He just held it long enough, I thought. Just held it long enough. He had the 2 or 3 touches.
Well, there he is from directly in front. And that's a goal. It's another goal to Sandringham. They are now 12-3. 20, just coming up 18.5 minutes to be precise into the term, and it was Annanson once again forcing the ball out, and I think he helped himself along a little bit that time. But anyhow, Big Vic Annanson, who's played a great game for Port Melbourne, gets it out of the centre across to Wilkinson, another fine player. In fact, Port haven't had a bad one, but that was a great tackle and play on the court. Good tackle by Wilkins. Scoreboard is 22-14 to 12-3 in favour of Port Melbourne. In points, that's 146 to 75. 19 minutes into the term.
Righto, Bill, and now over to Rob Astbury. Any football news, Rob?
Well, there is some football news, and it's big football news, Phil, but unfortunately I've been sworn to secrecy. I can tell you tomorrow morning on 3XY at 7:30 when the fine print should be finalised, and we'll have the full story tomorrow night on Eyewitness News. It is a big football story. Back to the action.
Right, and there it goes down to the forward zone of Port Melbourne, but David Drosher coming out in defence. He plays it towards the half-back line, close to the boundary, and I think it's beaten Dermot over. So the throw-in. You can see the time out there coming up to the 20-minute mark in the third quarter. And it's Anderson again getting the knockout from the ruck down to Dermot. Dermot up towards the half-forward line of the right forward pocket, but coming in to try and take it was Hodges. Umpire moving across quickly and calling Wilkinson back on the 15-metre penalty. Wilkinson still chipping the umpire, saying what for? and Bill Tawney not taking a scrap of notice. There goes the kick around the wing position. Up goes Bradbury. Tried to take it as he fell to the ground, couldn't do so, and the umpire will open up the play for a ball up. Rob.
146 plays 75, and we're now 21 minutes into the third quarter here at the Beach Road Oval, and the 10s match of the day. Sims and Annanson opposed there, getting it down to Abaya. Abaya gets the ball across to O'Brien. He'll go forward from the wing position for Port Melbourne. Across to Christo it is, I beg your pardon. Christo now to Kavanagh. There it is now, Christo taking the ball again, but he's caught this time, Jim Christo. Players throwing themselves at the ball. There's a handball out now. Wilkins, it is, getting it in towards the centre of the ground, going through his Chapman. Walks his way past one opponent. Oh, too slow, and that's what's been wrong with Sandringham all day. Sims now, and what does he do with it? Very little at all, but almost gives the opportunity there. But sharking the ball away is Port Melbourne through Anderson. Anderson in towards the centre of the ground and throwing himself at the ball is Evans. Desperate football now. Going out his way. He's tossed aside, holding the man, and Way will take the free kick. There's the ball going to the Beach Road side of the ground. It's Scott marking for Sandringham. Runs round. Oh, kicks it into the man of the mark. Wilkins is there, fortunately, but he's down. Gets a handball in. Coming through. It's Pledger. Across to O'Brien this time. Now O'Brien will go forward. There's the kick in towards the forward pocket position. And defending for Port Melbourne is Thompson. Mark being paid by the umpire. It's Doyle, 22 and a half minutes now into the third quarter. The Seagulls are coming in, and some of the crowd are going home. But they haven't moved yet because they're expecting a comeback by Sandringham, but they'll want to do it pretty soon as O'Reilly kicks the ball awkwardly across to Bradbury. Interrupted there by Drosher. He missed it. Now it's Bradbury with it again, getting up. Down in his knees again. Scott's there. He decides to handball to Hayes. Hayes gets it across towards Chapman, but it's Swan who gets his kick in for Port Melbourne. Evans takes the ball, lines up the big sticks, and puts it through for full points to Port Melbourne. Another major for Borough. The big crowd hasn't left here. Port Melbourne 23-14, 152. Sandringham 12-3, 75. You'd think it was a hopeless cause, but I got the feeling something's going to happen. I find it hard to believe that 18 men who would wear the Sandringham Guernsey won't do something as Wilkins goes forward. Handballs across to Marling. Marling in towards an open goal, and it's touched. Or is it? No, it's full points. Sandringham, a badly needed goal. Well, as I was saying, I can't believe that a side that has performed so well and strung together 8 wins in a row could not turn on something. So anything could happen in this last quarter. And I think Sandringham owe it to the large number of supporters who have turned up here today. Probably the biggest crowd that well, certainly the biggest home and away crowd that I've seen in over 3 years. They've got to do something, Ted.
Yes, well, while Bill Tawney's doing up his boot, I agree with you, Rob, that this is not a true Sandringham performance.
There's no doubt about that. Maybe they're overawed by the occasion. There's the bounce. Back in the centre of the ground, Brian Oakley. No one gets the advantage of the bounce. Knocking the ball along is Wilkins. He's grabbed immediately by Annanson. Gets the kick in, but it's smothered. In the centre of the ground is O'Brien and Abaya. Abaya kicks it off the ground, but it's a mark to Scott. Scott will go forward. Long driving kick down to Hunt. Hunt is there in front. Oh, he just gets his fingers to it. Can't hold it though. Thompson takes the ball. There's his kick going to the outer side of the ground. The half-back flank position to Kavanagh. Kavanagh down to the wing, and it's Evans who will mark right out there on the boundary line. Short pass to Wilkinson. Handball, Abaya. Abaya going Goldwood now. Right down to the scoring zone. Fred Cook is out in front and he takes the easiest of marks. Well, this is where Sandringham have fallen down all day. That back line just not tight enough. Fred Cook now going for...
He's kicked 6, so he's going for his 7th goal.
Great to see Fred Cook back in action, one of the real personality players of the VFA. This is his 51st for the season if he gets it. There's the kick by Fred Cook. The umpire moves across. It's going to be close, and it is close. And one behind. I thought it was a goal too, Phil. Well, we've just moved into time on now by 30 seconds into the third quarter. Drosher decides to play on and kicking the ball out right into the centre of the ground. Up goes Pledger, but grabbing the ball is Swan. Or short kick gives the chance for Abaya. Abaya now screws it back towards the full forward position, and on this occasion O'Reilly is out position. Now taking the ball is Mannix. Mannix will get a kick in, coming to the Bayside wing, knocked down to the ground. Play on, says the umpire. Bradbury gets the ball across to his teammate in Doyle. Doyle gets a kick in towards the centre half forward position. It's all Sandringham. They should take this one, and Hodges marks at centre half back. Hodges now in towards the centre of the ground. Dermott goes up and takes a good mark right on the VFA side. One of Port Melbourne's good players, and also certainly developed into one of the personality players of the Port Melbourne club. He's kicked down to centre half forward, and grabbing the ball and going forward is Anderson down towards the goal and hits the post. Or does it though? Play on, says the umpire. Went very close to the post. Now it's Hayes, slips over at the crucial time, but gets around his teammate. Oh, no, he doesn't. He blocks there, is Christo. Hayes grabs it again. Back towards the centre of the ground. Scott now will take the pressure off Sandringham. Goes for a bounce. Sees his teammate in Mannix all by himself, but over Mannix's head. Gives the opportunity for Bradbury to come in. Oh, good play, Bradbury. He'll take one bounce and a second bounce. He better kick it before he loses it, or handball, which he does. Kavanagh takes it on the half-forward flank. Has a bit of a look. There's his kick. Across the face of goal to Freddie Cook all by himself. Oh, play on, says the umpire. I think I would have paid that. No, says Ted Henrys. Saru to O'Brien. O'Brien out to the wing position, and it's Sandringham going forward through Gilmore. Gilmore down towards Hunt. Hunt's making position, has the ball knocked away from him. Pledger grabs the ball, decides to handball. He's in a lot of pressure. Hunt back in the play. Marling takes it, screws it towards goal, and it's way across the face of goal and out of bounds on the full. Phil.
Yes, Rob. Right. So we're just waiting on the throw-in. Shortest day tomorrow too. Well, I mentioned that. It's just the light's starting to fade here at the moment. All right, Sandringham have the opportunity now as it's kicked across towards their centre half forward zone, but moving down again is Swan. Swan plays it out towards the wing, looking for Evans. Evans getting in front of Scott, has the ball back here towards Abaya, and Abaya now from wide of the centre of the ground. A left foot kick up to Anderson, and Anderson coming through has taken it. He doesn't waste any time. High in the air, Cook works around in front, but O'Reilly coming in from behind to take, I'd say, the Gillette mark of the day at the 27.5-minute mark into this. That was a beautiful mark. This the third quarter. He's kicked 5 goals, O'Reilly. So O'Reilly now lines them up. And Port Melbourne, in racing parlance, doing it on the bit. He's put it through for another one to Port Melbourne. Reading on the Olympic Tyres scoreboard, 24-15 Port Melbourne, Sandy a 13-3. Umpire blowing the whistle. Shepherding was the call, and the free kick will go to Sims. Up towards centre forward, up they go. Big Rex Hunt couldn't get up to take that one. Hall, who's in everything now, plays it towards the centre. 3 Sandringham players there, and Sims is the player to snap it out of the air. Still the 3 Sandringham players. They're not running Sandringham players, running around or picking up their men. They're standing and looking and watching the other players do it. There it comes out towards Way. Way works himself in front of Thompson, gets away from Abaya, passes it back here, and Hodges should have put both hands to the ball then. Wilkinson is down on the ground for Port Melbourne, back at centre half forward. The mud bespattered Wilkinson. Out, they take the mouth guard out, and the trainers are out there, but play continues. It comes out to Mailing, who has the kick smothered, and over the line it goes again. So Gary Bryce looks as though he's getting ready to come on the ground, because no doubt Wilkinson will go off. There's Abaya passing it out from the pack again towards Swan, who's brought down. He was pulled round the neck just before he went down to the ground. And Swan will get the free. Wilkinson will definitely come off the ground, we'd say. There it goes towards Mannix. Mannix fails to take the mark. Hand pass from Mannix out towards Sims. Sims with a further hand pass. Gets it to Pledger. Pledger now races away. Realised Anderson wouldn't be able to catch him. Shoots in the direction of goals. And it's hit the behind post. So Wilkinson being carried off the ground and to the opposite side of the ground from where the closest to the boundary, I suppose, but they've got a long way to bring him around. All right, there's Sims trying to keep the ball back in play. He does. and then elects to go for the kick and plays it towards the right forward pocket. Good mark then by John Christie. Bill.
Well, it's a big blow for Port Melbourne to lose Wilkinson. He's played brilliantly if they are to lose him permanently, and Gary Bryce preparing to come on. John Christo, after taking that fine mark, has driven the ball up to the half-back line, but it was managed for Sandringham, then Stabuse. Pledger. Well, you saw it all, and Pledger having a word to say about umpiring, and he's very well qualified to do it. And I offer that comment in the spirit that it's given anyhow. So,
I don't think we missed your meaning, Bill.
I thought that was a delightful quirk there. It's Pledger across towards Hunt's lead up towards centre half forward, but again punched away by Hall to Swan to Thompson. Thompson out of the back line to Anderson going through the centre. Anderson into Evans, and a beautiful mark. Beautiful football, Port Melbourne. Evans across to the half forward line. It will be Kavanagh, and he's got to resist Grosher. That was as close as a couple of trains on the rails. O'Reilly in there, and look at them fighting it out. Nobody can get it out of there, and the umpire will bounce. Olympic Tyres scoreboard, 31 minutes into the term, 24-15 to 13-3, with Port Melbourne leading by the handsome margin of 78 points. O'Reilly doing the ruck work and doing it well. Anderson helped it through to Abaya. Abaya's about 40 metres out, and he's popped it across to the half-forward line. Captain and coach Gary Bryce, who's been on the bench all day. Down to Bradbury, holding the ball. Holding the ball. Free kick to Hayes. Three-quarter time scores. Port Melbourne 24-15, 159. Sandringham 13-3, 81.
All right, there it is to three-quarter time, and we have Port Melbourne well on top. Again, showing too much system in their play. They're backing up well. Players, when they fly for a mark, if they can't get it, there's always a player standing down and ready to run on with the ball. And at the moment, and for most of the game since the first quarter, Port Melbourne, I think, has had too much system in their play, Bill. Yes, there's nothing can be said, really, that wasn't said at half-time and what Phil has said then. Port Melbourne have done it on the bit, and in that quarter they scored 5 goals to Sandringham 4. Sandringham commenced the quarter eagerly, desperately I suppose you might say, but all to no avail, and the game seemingly is wrapped up at three-quarter time. And there is Wilkinson, not looking very happy about things. He got a nasty blow, but it's good to see that he's on his feet. Right, Ted Henrys.
Well, what can you say about this game except to sort of praise even further Port Melbourne's performance, even though Sandringham did make an attempt to come back that quarter, but the cohesive way and the brilliant way that Port Melbourne were able to get this ball out of the back line, sheer teamwork was able to do it. They were thinking far better than Sandringham and moving the ball up onto their forward line where they were playing equally as well, and also Grant O'Reilly still on top. But what a great job Vic Anderson has done for Port Melbourne today. He has excelled in the ruck. He's been directing the play there, hitting the ball on, tapping it out to his rovers and doing a tremendous part for his side. But I'm just thinking, if the last quarter, Phil, is anything like the second quarter, how much will Port Melbourne win by?
Well, they'll win by plenty, the way Sandringham are playing and the way Port Melbourne are playing. As I said, they're winning in every... I can't think of a position where Sandringham are right on top. They might be equaling in a couple of positions, but they're well down on their play, and all credit must go to Port. Yes, Rob?
Port win by 20, you lose by 40.
Don't say that. I've got someone watching. Okay, Ian.
You touched his pulse there.
And it happens to be this fella's mother. Okay, Ian.
Port Melbourne certainly held Sandringham in that quarter. Both teams had 8 scoring shots. Port Melbourne kicked 5 goals 3, Sandringham 4-4. Port Melbourne kick getters, Swan 29 kicks, a great effort. Wilkinson 15. Thompson a strong defender with 12 kicks. O'Reilly 16 and Kavanagh 12. Sandringham kick getters, Pledger improved his game in that quarter. 15 kicks, 9 coming from that quarter. Chapman 10. Sims 16 kicks and taken 13 strong marks, and Wilkins 11 kicks. Goal kickers for Port Melbourne, 6 each to Cook and O'Reilly, 4 to Kavanagh, 3 to Swan, 2 each to Jim, Christo and Evans, and 1 to Anderson. For Sandringham, 4 to Hunt, 2 each to Chapman, Adams, Mailing, and 1 each to Way, Hayes and O'Brien. Team statistics to three-quarter time, Sandringham 50 marks, Port Melbourne 72. And for Sandringham, free kicks 30 and Port Melbourne 39.
Then the word is kicks, Ian. Port Melbourne 24-15, Sandringham 13-3. And by quarter, and it tells a great story for Port Melbourne, a sorry story for Sandringham. They're now well down, 159 to a total of 81. And I can't see much that they can do at the moment as we have a look at these scores coming through from other matches. Brunswick 10-8, leading Dandenong 7-13. Caulfield are down with Preston, Preston 14-23, Caulfield 8-13. Geelong West 13-11, leading Coburg 10 goals 12. Frankston 19-16, leading Paran 8 goals 13.
Battle of words. They won't be able to do much with that crowd around them.
Well, Saru's down there still talking away to Gary Bryce.
I bet they're not saying good afternoon, that's for sure.
Well, he's told the kids where to go. And we have Port Melbourne 159 to Sandringham's 81.
I noticed Coburg were having a struggle too in their match against Geelong West. And we'll have all the results tonight on Eyewitness News with Tony Banks, plus highlights of today's action here in the match of the day. All results of first and second division, plus the ladder at 6 o'clock on Eyewitness News.
Yes, and if you're moving before Mark Saru and Gary Bryce down in the forward pocket. This is a shame that it takes so long to clear the youngsters off the ground at three-quarter time, as we have other scores coming through. Dandenong 74, leading Brunswick 69. Gary Bryce, he's always most cooperative and certainly got a football brain for coaching, Bill.
He most certainly has. He's an excellent commentator too with 3RW.
And there could be a few coaching jobs going around next year, Bill.
Yes, I think they could.
And in more than VFA too. Right, well, this is umpire Brian Oakley. And there we go. And the bounce coming out and is knocked away by Swan of Port Melbourne. Goes down here to Pledger. Pledger up towards the half-forward line. In the race for the ball is Peter Bell. Thompson right behind him. Bell having difficulty in handling it, so that's Thompson to come over the top and push it out of bounds. Deliberately out, and the umpire gives the free kick to Bell. So Bell plays towards centre forward. Hunt led in the race for the ball, marked it, but the umpire has called it back. And what's he going to do? He might give the free kick further afield. He's gone back. He's spoken with the players back downfield. And Hunt gets the kick. Now, what would he given? He'd have given the free, not a mark.
Oh, sure. Down the field, he would have had to pay the free kick. It was just coincidental that Rex Hunt did mark it also.
All right, well, there it goes on its way, and he's hooked it. He's put it through for a behind. So Sandringham, 13-4. He's not going to help you either, Peter. What would he be thinking now? Just having a look at that expression. Wouldn't be thinking about Jack, would he? All right, there goes the kick now from the Hall towards the half-back line. And Vic Annanson taking 2 bites to take the mark in. So Annanson from the half-back line up towards the half-forward line. They move in. And the punch comes down to the ground, punched down by Adams. Adams gets it across here to Hodges, to way up towards the half-forward line. And there's Alf Butts taking the mark. He immediately plays on. It was touched over. No, the umpire says it wasn't touched. I thought the way it flew in the air that the Port Melbourne player got his hand to it, but there's the free kick to Christo, and Christo now with his kick around the bay wing. There's Annanson, and Mannix comes into it now. Mannix still battling on in there. Bradbury goes over the top of it with him. And it's in the side of the head, a bit high. It goes to Mannix. Mannix back into the centre, and Pledger is the player to take the mark. Pledger now goes for the short pass, gets it up here. He's got it to Terry Wilkins, and Wilkins now lets the play settle down a bit and comes in for his kick up towards the forward zone. Race for the ball. O'Brien is in there, and also we see Bell picking it up, and Bell shoots for goal to put it through to Sandringham's 14th goal. just got it to Wilkins in the centre, and Wilkins has put it straight into the hands of Bradbury. Bradbury now kicks it long, downfield, towards centre forward. 3 Sandringham players went up in the air, and the mark has been taken by Brian Adams at the 3.5-minute mark. He gets it out to Saru. Saru gets his kick in, but look what he does with it. Dead set over the Puma sign there, and the kick now back to Anderson, and Anderson has taken the mark on the left half forward flank. A lot of shadows and sunshine across the ground as the ball goes on its way. Sims has it set, he's marked it in the last line of defence between the goal and behind post. A lot of the zip has gone out of the game. There's Gary Bryce, who's come on in the last quarter, and this will be a pass go up here towards Mannix. Mannix getting in front of Abaya to take the mark. There's the kick on its way, a short pass again, and it's found Gilmore. Abaya on the mark, won't come back, and the umpire will immediately apply a 15-metre penalty. So up goes Gilmore now to take off. He gets bowled over by Abaya after kicking the ball, and the free kick will go upfield. He's arguing back there with the umpire, and Peter Hogan calling for a better umpiring. Well, there he goes across towards Hunt. Hunt goes up and he's taken it. The umpire's disallowed it. Hunt looked back in amazement, and Anderson picks it up pretty quickly to put it back towards the wing on the outer side of the ground. Scott gains possession, twisted and turned, and then plays it further around the wing, and that is Way who moves in on the ball, gets around his opponent, goes for the short pass, and he's found his teammate in Peter Bell. So Peter Bell from the half-forward line, Bill Jacobs.
Score 24-15 to 14-4, and it's 6 minutes into the last term with Bell shooting from the half-forward flank. Good distance in the kick, but Anderson has no competitor there, and you saw what happened. The big fellow took the mark with the greatest ease. So Anderson will defend. There he is. The picture tells you, right on the boundary line. And the hand pass to John Christo was untidy. Well, Christo made it that way, and it's out of bounds. 24-15 to 14-4, 6.5 minutes into the final term, and Port having dictated the terms practically throughout the day, certainly since quarter time. Doyle riding the bump beautifully. The handball wasn't good, and the umpire may be forced to bounce until it flips its way out to Bell. Breeze holding it up. The breeze sprung up in this quarter. That's got to be a mark. I thought he marked the earlier one, to be honest. But that was the mark, but you wouldn't back his kicking in today. 4 goals, 2 and 3 out of bounds on the full, Ian Gibbs tells us. And that's the pocket he'd want to kick from, and he's kicked the goal for Sandringham. Gary Bryce has gone into the centre of the ground to rev Port Melbourne up and tell them not to do anything stupid and to try and pile on some goals. 24-15 to 15-4, and Anderson tapping it out cleverly across there to Evans, who's a polished footballer, and Evans to Jim Christo is good football on Port Melbourne's part, and they land the ball on their half-forward line, and Christo's going to have a look at the goals. There's the angle. He missed one from here in the second quarter. Kick 2. It was about here that he missed it in the second quarter. There he goes now, up towards Cook, and both of the players up there, Cook and Dross, are looking a bit half-hearted about things, and it's a point to Christo. So 8 minutes into the final term, Port Melbourne still coasting along. Drosser waiting for the ball to come back to him before putting it back into play. Drosser has played it full back on Fred Cook, and Cook has played pretty well. Drosser's got it up towards the centre half back position. Anderson off the pack, back to Cook, and Cook tried to smother when the ball dropped short. Kavanagh into the open goal, and it's full points for Port Melbourne. It's 10 minutes into the last quarter. Port Melbourne with an advantage of over 10 goals. Anderson out of the ruck as he's done so often today. Maddox running into quite a breeze now, coming up through the centre for Sandringham, and Hall and Hunt. Hall thumps down very quickly to Way, who's running shot for goal, has put it through. Sandringham's 16th goal, and into the teeth of quite a considerable breeze which has sprung up since just before three-quarter time. Port Melbourne 25-16, 166 points, have an ample margin at this stage of the journey.
Well, it certainly is, Bill, and you mentioned the wind then. It's strung up fairly strong and blowing to the end that Port Melbourne is kicking, so no doubt about it, luck is with them as well as good football.
Well, there's O'Brien getting it out of the centre and across to Pledger. It's amazing that in a game like this, Sandringham, you see they've scored 100 points. But there it was, with Thompson coming out from half-back to get it down to Anderson. Anderson give it across to Bryce. Bryce streaming downfield, a long flying shot for goal, and it might be through for full points. It is. So Port Melbourne on to 26-16, 171, lead at Sandringham 16-4-100. That's 271 points. A lot of points for a game, Ted, although not uncommon these days.
No, it's not uncommon, but it's a very high-scoring game, and particularly from Port Melbourne, as we've seen them giving an excellent performance here today, as we find there that Brunswick 69 trailed Dandenong by 5 points. They're 74.
Well, time going slowly in the last quarter for all concerned. It's 11 minutes into the term, and Sandringham will be more than happy when siren time comes.
Interesting scores going through there. Geelong West 108, Coburg 79. The Coburg premiers 2 years ago and grand finalists last year going down. Frankston 144 to Paran 81. They're not final scores as yet. We'll give you those two later on if we have time. Well, back to the action, and it's Mannix for Sandringham, handballing across to Wilkins. The captain lines up the big sticks, but right into the teeth of goal, and a good mark to Hunt. He decides to handball across to Bell. Bell goes into an open goal, and it's a valuable goal to Sandringham. Margin now something like 11 goals, and Sandringham could be in front. But as Ted Henry's put it, if they had another game, another 100 minutes of football, they could possibly do it. It's Port with the wind. It's Port Melbourne going forward through O'Reilly at centre half forward. Getting very dark here now and very windy. O'Reilly will be kicking with the aid of a wind that has only blown up in the last 10 minutes here at the Beach Road Oval. O'Reilly has kicked 6. A lot of interest as to how many goals he can kick today. There it is, going right down towards Fred Cook, making position, and it's hit the post, and through for 1 point. Well, as we said, it's very cold here, and as you can see, there's Father Christmas. Grandma, abominable snowman, that bloke, I tell you. Back to the action, and making position is Saru. Oh, Mannix goes up, and that could be a contender for the Gillette mark of the day. Would like to have another look at that one if we could. Peter Mannix going up a beautiful mark, and there's another good mark to Dermott. 12 minutes in, that mark there by Mannix, and he's, there's a player down there too, after the mark by Dermott, who got up very high. Across the centre half forward, but it's a mark, and it's going to, looks like O'Reilly, who's been paid the mark. Player getting up is Gilmore, who apparently was underneath the big pack as it went up with Dermott on top. A great mark to Dermott, but the one before by Mannix certainly a contender for the Gillette mark of the day. 173 plays 106. O'Reilly has kicked 6 goals 3. There's another long kick by O'Reilly. The umpire moves across, and full points to Port Melbourne, and the Borough are in action again. 70 Olympic tyre scoreboard. Sandringham being beaten today, and Port Melbourne greatly enhancing their premiership prospects and certainly shortening their odds. Going forward, it's Sandringham, but defending is Hall. Gets it across to Christo. John Christo now going to the outer side of the ground. It's Swan. Handballs across to Dermott, who took that great mark only a few minutes ago. Dermott, a short pass. Oh, down to Christo, Jim Christo at centre half forward. He'll handball, but he puts his teammate Anderson under a lot of pressure there. Now he comes out with the ball, lines up the big sticks, and the umpire says another goal to Port Melbourne. Well, they're certainly racing away with this game now, Ted. I think Sandringham will be very pleased when that siren goes. Well,
they certainly will be very pleased, but I'm certain Peter Hogan will be very disappointed, and just as he is there at the present time. And we find a final score there. Waverley defeated Northcote 104 to 76. But Port Melbourne, no doubt, would be very pleased with their performance here today. And if they weren't favourites for the flag up until this point, they certainly would be now, Rob.
Yes, I'd have to echo the sentiments of Bill Jacobs before, who said that Gary Bryce would probably be certainly a contender for a major coaching job. He impresses me at the moment as being the best coach by far in the VFA. I like the way he operates, and he certainly has the record on the board. Phil.
Right, Rob, and we have other scores. This is the final score from Brunswick. Dandenong have won by 3 points, just getting in there. And now coming through is Jim Christo once again. He goes for goal. It's on its way offline. And one behind is the result. So that takes Port on to 28-18 with Sandringham on 17-4, 106. Well, David Droscher, twice he's done that now. A little kick to himself and then off, plays it upfield towards the half-back line. Saru came down, failed to take the mark. And look at the tagging going on to Bryce there. Bryce still battling away, and he'll end up with a free kick. So Bryce is within scoring range. Fair way to kick. Line just behind him that goes across the half-forward line there. He's had one kick and kicked a goal, Bryce. See if he can have a 100% result as he puts it on its way, but it's offline. It'll go right across the face of the big sticks and through for one behind. So that takes Port Melbourne on to 28 goals. 18, I think it is. We'll wait till it goes up on the board. Or 19. 28-19 to 17-4. Kick off to the centre half-back position. The mark has been taken by Mannix of Sandringham. He gets it out in the direction of Buse. Right behind Buse for Port is Doyle. Doyle is the player who's attempting to come out with the ball. Goes down to the ground with it. The umpire has given the free kick holding the ball, and it will be taken by number 14, Peter Bell. Peter Bell around the half-forward line. No one able to take it. Pledger moves in, and Pledger going down on the half-forward line. Bangs it towards the goals, and Christo coming in to take the mark. That's John Christo. So Christo between the big sticks. At the northern end of the ground. Have a look at that score. 81 points up, Port Melbourne. Who would have thought that before the game, other than dyed-in-the-wool Port Melbourne supporters or the players? Pick up by O'Brien. O'Brien puts it across towards the centre-forward zone. The chance for Sandringham as players are being brought down here. Peter Hall got an elbow in the mouth then. Comes back in the direction of Bell. Bell gets it across here towards Buse. Buse shoots the goal and he's put it through for full points. Coming up to the 18-minute mark. Quarter, and Port Melbourne doing it easily. Evans gets the hand pass in. A pick up by Swan. Swan going downfield now. Shoots up in towards the pocket, but Riley came into it and it's gone over the line. It's on the forward line for Port Melbourne. And here they move. O'Reilly got his hand to the ball, but the umpire has given a free kick, and it will be taken here for Sandringham by Bell. So Bell now plays it to the half-back line. Sims goes up, and he takes a mark. Hasn't been as strong as we've seen him. He's taken several marks today. He's taken what? 16 marks. But hasn't been as strong as we have seen him on other occasions. He's taken the marks all right, but he hasn't been able to do that much with them. He's been well beaten as a ruckman. And now it comes over here towards Demetrio as Holborn not in possession of the ball. The pick up by Bradbury. Bradbury up towards the half-forward line. Evans bears in on it, taps it away nicely. Evans now with a long hand pass to Cook up in the goal square. Evans was fouled after getting rid of the ball, and the free kick will be taken by Fred Cook further afield. Fred Cook right in the middle of the goal square here. He's kicked 6-2 so far today, and this will be his 7th coming up. It's 28-19 to 18-4, and Fred Cook has put this one through for another goal to Port Melbourne. They go to 29-19 to Sandringham's 18 goals 4. Well, let's have a look at our mark of the day, Ted, for the $50 in cash and the Gillette products.
Yes, it was 12 minutes into this final quarter, Phil's. Peter Mannix, there it is. A magnificent mark. Oof. The way he fell to protect himself. But that's the Gillette mark of the day.
And he'll be a contender for our $1,000 cash award by Gillette at the end of the season. In a moment, we'll be selecting our best player of the day, and I don't think there's very much doubt about that either. Oh, Ted's wagging his finger here. It's all he can these days. But anyway, it's pushed away from the centre, wide, and here's the chance now through the agency of Mannix to get the ball up towards centre half forward, and the mark has been taken by Gilmore. Gilmore now gets ready. He puts it down. Mannix coming through. Oh, pull round a bit high then. And the umpire has given the free kick, and it will be taken by Gilmore of Sandringham. Bill.
Well, the 20-minute mark. 81 points the difference. There's quite some margin. Gilmore hasn't been of much assistance to Sandringham today, but he's not without company there. There's his kick right up to the goal front. And a mark to Port Melbourne. And it's big Vic Annanson, who's put in very well for Port Melbourne this afternoon. In fact, I don't recall Vic ever playing badly for Port. There he goes out to Bradbury, and Bradbury gets the ball working across to Anderson, here towards the centre of the ground. Jimmy Christo and Swan. It's Swan out to captain coach Gary Bryce, heading towards the centre wing position. Abaya chips in and boots it over to the half-forward flank. Well, that's good football. Port making progress through handball to Swan, further up into the forward pocket, and there's the boot for full points, or 1 point by Dermot.
Here's another final score, Bill. Geelong West 17-13 defeated Coburg 15-15.
Out to Saru on the half-back line, and Saru working the ball in towards the centre of the ground. Port too strong, get it out to Jim Christo again, who's been very elusive. Out to Abaya on the half-forward flank. Abaya at half-forward flank, and he fancies himself. He's going well back to have a kick here. But the breeze is now quite considerable. But Abaya elects to get it just a little bit further up forward on the half-forward line. And Port into attack once more. There's the long flying kick, but offline. And it's through for another point, and Port have even raced the scoreboard. And there's something going on. Demetrio and Saru in the forward pocket. This is the first time it's erupted since early in the game, and they're pretty keen about it.
Like a dog at a bone there, Bill.
Yes. But Saru, you might recall at the start of this quarter, was having a few words to say to Gary Bryce, and Gary's in there chatting, and Fred Cook saying, break it up, fellas. It'll be very wise if they did, because there's Demetrio want to take Saru on again. Well, sooner Demetrio gets that out of his system, the better, because he might find himself reported, and that'll be stupid after such a resounding win today.
Well, we have Bill Tawney in there, the voice of authority.
29-21 on the Olympic Fire scoreboard as Port to Sandringham 18-4. Caulfield have gone down to Preston. Preston 24-30. A handsome win over Caulfield 12-13. 29-21 to 18-4, and getting very... A mark there, this time to Mannix. It's merely going through the motions now. The ball moving up to centre half back. Gary Bryce not too impressed with things, and Dermot being brought back to stand the mark, and the kick will be taken by Mannix. 29-21 to 18-4, and it's just creeping up towards the 24-minute mark. Mannix playing the short game, and Buse taking control there at centre wing, driving it further afield, up to Hodges. Hodges knocking away and then regaining possession to get it across to Chapman. And that's got to be a free kick for a push in the back, and Wilkins will take the free kick.
Well, Rob, light is fading here.
Yes, light is certainly fading, Phil, and so are the crowd, because they're going now. It's down on the back line for Port Melbourne. Abaya takes a bounce. He'll take a handball now across to Anderson. Anderson gets a kick in, sees Jim Christo. Christo accepts the mark, almost in the centre of the ground. Gets a pass from Dermot. Dermot takes the mark, and stalling tactics now by Dermot. Well, I can tell you the Best Player Award will be very close today, because all commentators have had a vote, and I think there's only a couple of points that's going to decide it, and Ted Henrys will have that for us very shortly. But Dermot now is lining up the big sticks. Can Port Melbourne make it 30 goals? There's the kick by Dermot. It's going to be close, but not close enough, and offline and through for one behind, and that's his 5th straight point, according to Ian Gibbs, keeping the statistics today. And here's another Gibbs, Phil.
It's going to be a dark night, Rob. All right, the Best Player Award for the Seedle products That's the $50 in cash in the Siegel products, and also the pair of Puma football boots. Ted Henry's the best player.
And a very close vote, Phil. It's gone for the centre half forward for Port Melbourne, Grant O'Reilly.
Grant O'Reilly, the best player today, and certainly deserve it. And now it's use going forward for Sandringham, down to Rex Hunt, standing firm there. Oh, he goes up, couldn't hold the mark though. Play on, says the umpire. Way grabs it now. He has an opportunity. Boots the ball in towards goal. The umpire moves across, and it's offline for one behind. So the Olympic Tyre scoreboard has certainly had plenty of action today with the scoring that's been done. A very high-scoring game. And Port Melbourne 29-22, 196. Sandringham moving on to 18-5. So takes it on to 113. Evans handballs across to Swan. Swan on the outer side of the ground in front of the Newbix sign. Sponsors today for Sandringham. And they certainly didn't hit the jackpot today, but they've had it pretty good for the last 8 weeks. We've now played an amazing almost 9 minutes of time on in the last quarter. No?
No, we're only at the 27-minute.
Well, if you look at that clock over there, maybe it's gone haywire because the clock over there says 9 minutes, but our clock says 26 minutes. So
it may feel that long, Rob.
Yes, it does. Right, well, back to the action and what's happened. Looks like a goal. Who got that one? Bill, you were watching. Jimmy Christo kicks another goal. Right, so the big clock over there on the scoreboard is wrong. Take no notice of that. We've got the time here, and it says we've played 2 minutes of time on in the final term of play. Sandringham 18-6, 114. Port Melbourne 30-22, 202. A very high-scoring game today. Back to the bounce. One of our monitors got out. It certainly has been a dark day. Now it's Dermott with the ball, going forward again for Port Melbourne, right down towards Freddie Cook, all going up one-handed. Would have been a good one if he could pull it off. Now he's got the ball, screws it back towards goal. It's rolling in, and it's a goal to Fred Cook. What a goal! Freddie Cook back in action. So Fred Cook has 8 goals now, O'Reilly 7, Hunt 5. The interest, of course, in how many goals can Fred Cook get. Grabbing the ball now and going forward is Evans. Evans handballs back to his teammate at Anderson. Anderson lines up the big sticks, and it's another one to Port Melbourne. Port Melbourne moving on to 32-22 to Sandringham 18-5 on the Olympic Tyre scoreboard. 114 compared to 214, so the margin is exactly a century. 100 points the difference. And it's amazing to see such large numbers of people still here, even though the difference is over here waiting to collect, Ted suggests.
They got a bit each way. They've had a day up, and now they're enjoying the night out.
Ah, yes, you got one in every crowd. It's Dermott now, almost in the centre of the ground, kicking to the outer side of the ground, out there in the flanks. Scott grabs the ball, almost handballed to, it does now, to Hodges. Hodges goes past an opponent with a bit of a push, gets his kick in now, down towards the centre half forward position, but it's Christo. No, he fumbled it on that occasion. Now coming out his way, he's under a lot of pressure. He'll have to get his kick in soon. He does now. There it is, going down towards Hunt. Oh, bounces over his opponent, knocked on to Rex Hunt. He grabs the ball now. Now he loses it, down on his knees. Players going in desperately for the ball, but umpire Bill Tawney will call the ball up. Just a reminder, we'll have all the results for you on Eyewitness News tonight with Tony Banks. Back to the action. Very hard to see out there over the other side of the ground. It looks quite bright on that monitor, but I can assure you here at the ground it is extremely dark out there. Pity you didn't smoke, Phil. You could turn on the lights.
All right. Well, that's how dark it is.
That doesn't.
Yeah, anyway, let's get back to the football. The artist has just finished his job, and we're 30 minutes into the final quarter. With Port Melbourne 32-22, Sandringham 18 goals 5, and the umpire has awarded the mark out here, and it's Grant O'Reilly again. Grant O'Reilly wanting the player back off the mark. What was that, Ian?
It's his 12th mark, and this is his 19th kick.
Now here he goes with the kick on its way up towards centre forward. Up they fly for it. Now unable to break away. Gilmore is the player in there over the top of the ball at the moment, and the umpire has awarded a free, and it's to David Drosher. So Drosher now gets his kick. Out towards the half-back line. Moving in was Scott. Scott gets the hand pass across here, and it'll be taken away by Chapman. Goes well wide towards the big fellow in Adams. Adams out towards the wing. Oh, and Wilkins, who hasn't had the best day, gets his kick in now, up towards the half-forward line, and Sims is the player to take the mark. Sims swings it around, further up the half-forward line. Peter Bell comes in to take it, has the kick smothered. Alf Buse is the player who goes down to the ground. It's dribbled out to the boundary line, not quite out. Bell is still in there battling. Umpire blowing the whistle as it went out then. And back into play it'll come in just a moment. This is the darkest, I think, of the cameras are not showing it, but it's about the darkest, Ted, we've seen it in the years we've been covering
I would say yes, Phil, without any doubt whatsoever. You can just see it when it gets on the other side of the ground.
All right, it comes through towards Demetrio, battling away with Saru, and Saru from wide of the centre plays it towards the half-forward line. They rise high for it. No one able to take a mark here, and racing away with it is Christo. Christo now will put it downfield as we come up to the 32-minute mark in the final quarter. Rice came in, tried to snap it up, couldn't do so. Pushed away here by Hodges of Sandringham to Scott. Scott up towards the wing, and it's Wilkins who takes the mark on the wing. Wilkins comes in with his kick. Sims slips at the vital stage, and the mark will be taken for Port Melbourne by Doyle. Doyle on the half-back line with Port Melbourne 32-22 to Sandringham's 18-5. Swan is the player to take the mark again, wide at the centre of the ground. Swan gets a lead further upfield from the Bayer. He doesn't waste any time. We'll kick it down towards the pocket position. Cook well out from goal. It allows Drosher to come in on the ball for Sandringham. And Drosher now gets his kick out towards the half-back flank. Still in play. And who was that who kicked it in the dark out there? We need somebody on the night shift here by the way this light has faded. Wilkins was the player anyway to kick it up towards the half-forward line, and that's John Christo, who passes it across to Hall. Hall out towards Swan, but chipping in here was Chapman. Chapman of Sandringham to Hunt, and Hunt has taken the mark 30 metres out from goal on a very slight angle. He's kicked 5 goals so far, Rex Hunt. And it's 32-22, Port Melbourne to Sandringham's 18 goals 5. As the ball goes on its way, and the goal umpire says it's another goal up to the Zebras at the 34-minute mark into the final quarter.
I'm just thinking, Phil, it's a good thing you don't have to get a cab home, or for that matter, a train home.
Why's that, Rob?
Well, you'd have trouble affording it, wouldn't you?
Yes.
A very dark day, Phil.
It is a dark day, all right, in more ways than one. Port Melbourne 32-22 and Sandringham 19-5, a total of 119. That's about the only thing they did right, Ted. They kicked well, Sandringham, but not well enough to get a winning score on the board. Out it comes, tapped away now by Chapman, and racing upfield with the ball is Pledger towards Hunt, and Hunt has come out to centre half forward to take another mark. Hunt has kicked 6. We'll try Bill out in the dark. Bill?
I'm on the night shift, am I?
Right, well, sorry there, Bill, you've had your go. Port Melbourne 32-22.
They kicked the goal.
Kicks the goal. And it takes Sandringham on to 20 goals 5, being defeated by Port Melbourne 32-22. So until next week.
This is Bill Jacobs.
Ted Henrys.
Rob Astbury.
Ian Gibbs.
And Philip Gibbs wishing you a very good night.